Yo, Berserk! How are you doing? How are your deadlock games today? Let me just chill a bit. See what's coming up here. Nobody wants to die. Let us continue. So I wonder if we continue from yesterday, or if it's the like right where we left off, or if it's the Watanagashi. Wonder what's gonna happen. Mion and the others. Yo, Berserk, how are you? Okay, wait, the badge, top clipper of the month, crazy. I see that. Mion and the others, having to set up for the Watanagashi festival or something, invited me along, but I refused. Of course I did. How could they be taking it easy and setting up for a festival in this situation? Mion had a lot of nerve. He seems to be very antagonistic towards them right now. Wow, that does not sound like shower sounds at all. It sounds like rain falling down. The first thing I did when I got back was take a shower. Not because I wanted to wash off sweat. It was because I wanted to be even calmer. I already understood this, but killing that man would be so very easy. The really hard thing would be not getting arrested for it, so we could get our peaceful days back. As I thought about it, I realized it wasn't easy. Hello, Diana! Japan's police force have the highest arrest rate in the world. Okay, but that's for different reasons. In Japan, it's basically like guilty until proven innocent, instead of innocent until proven guilty. I would need to deceitfully pull off the perfect crime, and it couldn't be a half-hearted attempt. Still, it wasn't 100%. Even the best police force in the world couldn't have a 100% arrest rate. I've read a lot of articles on trials of people brought up on false charges. At court, they consider whether the charges are false or not, but figuring out the real criminal is entirely out of the scope. That meant perfect crimes did exist. In fact, perfect crimes were sort of like works of art. They could even be respected and revered. You just had to look at the inundation of mystery novels everywhere throughout history. They dealt with all sorts of difficult-to-solve incidents involving secret rooms and alibis and stuff, but they all wanted to show one thing. They wanted to show the beauty of a perfect crime. There was something divine in the flawlessness of the word perfect. Yes, perfect crimes were skills of the gods. Hello, Ruben! Hope everyone's having a good day. And in that sense, the serial freak deaths they were calling the curse of Oyashiro-sama, I understood. They must have been the works of gods. Another stream of pain. Hopefully, the end of pain. But we'll find out. Yeah, skills belonging only to gods. Those are perfect crimes. I didn't ask, Ruben. I wanted to ask. Did you get the job? Like, what'd you hear back from it? Now, I'd be setting up my own crime before Oyashiro-sama's series of perfect crimes 4 years in the running. If I were to put it boldly, I was challenging a god. Foolhardiness would be needed to make the decision, but I needed to be calm, cool, colder than ice to put that plan together. No, I didn't get unfortunate. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Always others, though. Yeah, gotta keep going, exactly. Kill him like a flame. But as systematic as ice. Starting now. Wait, Keiichi killing like ice? Sorry. I just had to put that out there. Let's continue. Starting now, I needed to retain both of those ideas within me. modeling my crime after a mystery novel wasn't actually a bad thing to focus on. Truing. Sometimes kidnappings involving disturbing original methods that made it into the newspaper were used as basis for novels after the person was arrested. Stuff that like that made it into the news. Day and night, for a very long time, mystery novel authors polished and refined their most fantastic artistic crimes. Imitating that could be a shortcut to planning the perfect crime in a short period of time. Keiichi being an edgy protagonist? Well, I think at this point he is maximum edge. Of course, I hadn't read enough mystery novels to act all high and mighty about them. The one who really liked mystery novels was my mom. She'd read every well-known mystery novel from overseas, from the past and present. Every time she watched mystery shows, she would always criticize them as having cheap tricks or being poorly thought out. I wonder what the perfect crime would mean to her. Are you going to ask your mom what the perfect crime is? Okay, well then. He transcended, yeah. No, he did.
母さんって結構たくさん推理小説を読んでるでしょ。そういうの詳しいかなって思って。
それを読むから楽しいのよ。初めからトリックを教えちゃったら楽しみがなくなっちゃうわ。
It wasn't like I was asking for my own amusement. She was deflecting the question, so I'd somehow butter her up first and draw out an answer.
そうね。よくできた推理小説。結構どれもこれもいろんな魅力があって、どれが面白かったとは言いにくいけど。
母さんの好きな小説のタイトルが知りたいんじゃないよ。母さんが一番舌を巻いた完全トリックが知りたいんだよ。
Little does she know she's part of a mystery, yup.
本当に完全なトリックだったら
Keiichi's parents,
名探偵に解く余地が
every
ないじゃ
chapter
ない
have always felt so oblivious to everything that's going on. It feels like they purposely like see something and they like shut their like ears and eyes and just like ignore the thing. Like even when Keiichi was like, if I died, then check the note and blah 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 blah. And they're like, oh, yeah, sure, all right. Isn't the best way to do the perfect crime? You're leaving a trail just by doing that. I mean, a lot of like that's how a lot of people like get caught and stuff. It's like they go and ask people about like, oh, you know, have you thought about like committing murders or anything? And they ask, and they seem very like awfully fixated, and like stuff like that is how people get found out after they commit the crime, because a lot of people are like, yeah, they were acting very, very sus. That was true. There'd be no point.
推理小説は解ける謎をいかに解くかの過程を楽しむものよ。解けない謎だったら、それは推理小説の題材になり得ないわね。
そっか。そりゃそうだよな。主人公に解けなかったら、お話として成立しないもんな。
Was I being too simplistic? A mystery novel was basically a game. They were written so that you can get to the goals, so that you could solve them. But I couldn't use something so optimistic. It needed to be the be-all, end-all of tricks so that we could, without a doubt, return to our old lives.
ということは、ケイチ、真の完全犯罪は物語にすらならないというのがわかるかしら？
Mom looked at me intellectually and grinned impishly. I never gotten to read it, but apparently at one time, a long time ago, Mom had written her own mystery novel and submitted it for some mystery novel award. Apparently she was really into it.
物語にならないってどういう意味？
ケイチ、物語の最低構成要素は？
起承転結。
正解。特に肝心なのは当たり前だけど、木に当たる部分よ。スタートの木がなかったら、そもそも物語は始まらない。
I wonder how Keiichi wants to go about killing him. Because, I mean, obviously that's going to be the main thing that I'm wondering. Because Keiichi's like, like he seems very confident to kill him within 1500 seconds, right? So, I'm really wondering what could his idea be? You know? Like, why? Or how does he plan to go about this? Because he's inside his own... Do you think he'll succeed? It's hard to say. He seems very determined, but I have to think about what happens if he doesn't succeed. If he doesn't succeed, I don't even know if he could show his face in Hinamizawa. Right? He can't just show up to school like everything's normal. And even if he does succeed, I don't think he can do that. So, if he does, like, no matter what happens after tonight, I feel like the story is going to be completely different to anything we've seen in chapter 1 and 2. But to answer your question, do you think he'll succeed? I have a hard time believing that he will succeed. The way the story's setting up, I'm implied to believe that he will, but I have a very hard time seeing how he ends up doing that. Because the guy is not alone. He has people with him, like, pretty often, right? They play games together. Which could be, yeah, exactly. To return to the happy days. Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
そりゃそうだよ。何も起こらなかったら何も始まらない。
そう。何も起こらないから事件にもならない。探偵も呼ばれないから推理もない。推理がないなら解決もない。つまり、これが究極の完全犯
But,
罪。
okay. This, I don't think this counts. Because I feel like the perfect crime, quote unquote, counts for, like, perfect. There have been crimes that cannot be solved. Or that have not been solved. And it's like people, like, you have to know a crime takes place. Like, something has to happen. Like, even if something, like, let's say, let's go scale down from murder. Like, if a bank gets robbed, they know that's happened. Like, if somebody hijacks something, they know that happens. I feel like that's, like, what crime could there even be if somebody dies? Like, unless they're maybe homeless or, like, they were a runaway or something, people are going to miss them. So, I don't, like... Yes, there's probably a sake of crime, like, a crime for the sake of... Yes, it is a perfect crime, but I feel like that most crimes that people want to commit that she classifies as the perfect crime are not crimes that people want to commit, you know?
ちょっと待って。もう一度説明してくれるかな。
My mom just told me something absurd, and she was saying it so smoothly too, I kind of tuned her out, but she said something extremely important
そ
just
んな
now.
難しい話じゃないわよ。そもそも事件が発覚しなければいいだけの話。
そもそも発覚しない事件。
つまり、例えばよ、誰も立ち入らない深い森の奥で、おじいさんが一人暮らしをしているとする。
うん。
そのおじいさんがある日、斧で殺されました。ちなみに犯人は、じゃあ、おじいさんの息子ね。おじいさんの家に来て一緒にお酒を飲んでいたんだけど、ちょっと喧嘩になって殺してしまった。
The only time I think, because, like, obviously she's giving a hyper-specific scenario, but the only time I feel like this might be doable is, on the ocean, I feel, right? Because when you're on the ocean, that is something, it's, like, really easy to hide evidence there. And, like, you know, if you're on a boat, and it's easy to say, like, what happened. Like, nobody can testify against you. And there's no evidence. So I think that's really difficult to prove. But other than that, I feel like it's difficult to do what she's saying. Other than in hyper-specific situations that I feel like does not apply here. Like, what Keiichi wants to do already can't be the perfect crime, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. What an extremely cheap plot. It was an impulsive crime without a bit of planning. It was pretty far from a perfect
でも
crime.
ケイチ、そこはとてもとても深い森の中の一軒家なの。普段は絶対に誰も訪れない深い山奥の深い深い森の中。
Wow, she is very, like, emphasizing how far it is.
さて、殺した息子は町に帰ってきてこう言うの。おじいさんは元気だったって。
それのどこが完全犯罪なの？
ケイチ、この事件はね、おじいさんが殺されているのが見つかって初めて木を迎えるのよ。もしもこの後、誰もおじいさんの家を訪れなかったら、永久に木は訪れない。
The beginning would never occur.
だからつまり、物語は始まらない。
While just casually giving advice on how to commit the perfect crime. Thing is, like, I feel like the advice she's giving doesn't really help. It's like, yeah, but how do you even get someone into a position? Unless Keiichi himself is able to bait the guy to, like, suspect that someone is gonna just not be... like, there's no reason for someone to go looking for him. Which does happen sometimes. But I don't know how Keiichi's gonna do in this specific scenario.
事件が発覚しないから探
Yeah,
偵
that's
も
what
呼
I'm
ばれ
thinking. In
ない。
practice, it wouldn't work. Or at least I'm thinking, like, for Keiichi here.
そもそも誰も不審に思わないから謎も起こらない。おじいさんは今日も一人でのんびり森の奥で暮らしているんだろうね。で、お空におじいさんの顔が浮かんで、ジエンド。どう？こんな感じで。
すごいじゃないか。それ、ちゃんとしたトリックだよ。
でも娯楽小説にはならないわね。推理小説は所詮娯楽書。完全犯罪の指南書にはなり得ないんだから。
I was trying hard to talk cheerfully to fool her, but inside I was excited. Special tools, strange geography, mysterious drugs, traps involving huge sums of cash. None of them were needed for perfect crimes. The important thing was that there wasn't a beginning. As long as the incident didn't come to light, that would be fine. Speaking broadly, if I could kill him without anyone finding out and dispose of the corpse somewhere no one could find, it would be basically already a perfect crime. Of course, if someone up and vanished one day all of a sudden, people would get suspicious. But that didn't apply to this man. Last year after their aunt died, he ran away from the village in fear of Oyashiro-sama. When the night of the Watanashi game came around, everyone would have to think that he ran away in fear again. That's fair. How do you get him out of the house, though? That's what I'm wondering. I mean, he'd been living with a lover of his in town. No matter what it felt like when he vanished, no one would be suspicious. People hated him after all. No one would care where he went if he disappeared. When I thought about it like that, it got easier and easier to imagine killing him. There's no point in thinking inside my house anymore. I left, getting my bike out of the garage. For now, it didn't matter where I was going. I just rode through the wind, trying to calm my excitement by feeling the cool air on my body. Where I'd kill him, how I'd do it, what time, and how to dispose of the corpse. If I just had those 4 things, I could get a good plan going. I was so surprised at how little there was to decide that I shivered. I've been completely prepared to build this humongous plan over a really long period of time. But if I could just get these little things in order, I could put it into motion. Today was Saturday. I would have to kill him on the night of the Watanagashi, so as long as I was standing in for Oyashiro-sama, I only had 24 hours remaining. Satoko, just hang on for 24 more hours. I can't even imagine having to suffer through even more, but please, hold out for even longer. Keiichi is a perfect narrator for a novel audiobook. Seems like a bit too positive and nice of a voice, don't you think? But please, just hold out. Your Nini will save you for sure. Outside, it was still early enough for the cicadas to be crying. Dude, the title? Early afternoon. Evening was still a long way off. The guy killed the guy. Yeah, that is what she would say. I looked into the sky. At some point, it had gotten cloudy. Whoa, what is this music? This is oddly positive music. Come to think of it, as I left the house, I heard one of the TV that weather forecasts was calling for a chance of rain on Sunday. I don't think it rained the last times on the Watanagashi. The sky was the color of lead. If I heard a little bit of thunder, I'd definitely have expected a sudden evening shower. My first destination was school. Before explaining why I was going there, I need to explain what method for killing that man I had decided upon. I decided the most suitable death, the one I needed to give him, was the same as last year's curse. The same as the punishment their aunt had received. Being beaten to death. This is great murder planning music. It feels like it's... Like, when it gets to the ominous parts, it sounds good, but it feels like it's jumping around a lot. But maybe that's the vibe that they're going for. That it's like a very unsettling... Like, it just feels off. Everything just feels off. Maybe that's the vibe they're going for, which makes sense. Wouldn't beating him to death be somewhat unreliable? Yeah, I mean, the dude's bigger than you, Keiichi. You literally talk just about yourself that you're a scrawny kid. This guy overpowers you easily. You may think that stabbing him with a blade would be more reliable. But this was something I'd chosen after a lot of thought. Just needed to think realistically. The law. It prohibited carrying any blades longer than 10 centimeters, I think. So the blades available to me, even the longest ones, were still limited to things shorter than a ruler. What was Keiichi planning to kill someone with? Like, where would he have access to a sword? Things shorter than a ruler. Oh, like, okay, wait, one of those small rulers, I guess. You can probably understand how tricky it would be with such a short reach to go up against an opponent that might fight back. In that case, a weapon with more reach, like a staff, would be far more advantageous. It might not be quite as inherently lethal, but since you could just keep hitting the guy until you killed him, the end result was the same. Can I borrow your hatchet? That's true. That's not a blade longer than 10 centimeters. So it's a staff-like deadly weapon, terrifyingly powerful, and also eminently portable. At this point, you should immediately think of a metal baseball bat. I don't need to explain how terrifying a metal baseball bat can be as a weapon. Of special note is the fact that you can carry around one in broad daylight and not be thought of as suspicious. Just those 2 points would have been enough to choose a metal bat for my weapon. But there was one more reason for choosing a metal bat in particular. I will speak about it later. Oh, Keiichi talking to the audience. Breaking the fourth wall. After school that Saturday, my classmates were still having fun playing in the schoolyard. I could show up there and it would be the same as always, so no one would think I'm suspicious. Getting my hands on the weapon without looking suspicious was actually a factor I couldn't ignore. I didn't normally play baseball, so if I went to a sports store looking for a metal bat, it would definitely be suspicious. I can't let there be a beginning to the story, so I needed to be really careful, even about that. That left school. An occasion at which my parents wouldn't be suspicious, I would acquire the weapon. I checked inside the classroom through the window, but of course there was nobody there. So I'm guessing he's gonna get... They'll be very symbolic if he still uses Satoshi's baseball bat. The only students who would stay there were me and the others when doing club activities. Without us, the classroom after school was just an empty, unused room. Without glancing around nervously, if I'd just gone to get something I'd forgotten, I casually went in the entrance. It looked like the teacher was busy with paperwork in the teacher's lounge. Why does the teacher have to go to school on a Saturday? Oh no, it's after school, right? Yeah, okay, never mind. It's after school. I forgot, yeah. Because Japanese schools are 6-day weeks, not 5-day weeks. Yeah, I still forget this is after school. I didn't see her in the hallway. Naturally, yet quickly as a shadow, I entered the classroom. Hello, Z. What are you munching on? The empty room was full of a strange, stagnant air you couldn't feel normally. But yes, this was... Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. He already used the bat to kill Rena and Mion, but this will be a lot more symbolic if he uses Satoshi's bat to protect Satoko and kill the uncle, the brother who's disappeared, and it's Keiichi's the one who's wielding it. It's going to be very symbolic. 40 sausages! That's a lot. What do you need 40 of them for? Are they like long ones or the smaller ones? The empty room was full of a strange... Yeah. An empty classroom with nobody here. To eat. Yeah, but why do you need 40 of them? The long ones. Damn, that's a lot of sausages. Maybe while no one was around, the desks creep about of their own accord, licking the floors clean of dirt. I suddenly stepped into a place like that. The desks, in their surprise, fly at me, crush my bones. Keiichi, what is this thought you're thinking about?
Baka-bakashi.
I felt regret at wasting valuable time thinking on stupid delusions. Because I'm hungry? Yeah, but... You know, there's no balance to the meal? Why are you eating, like, 40 sausages? Like, why does it have to be 40 of them? The students' lockers were lined up in the back of the classroom. The one I was looking for wasn't my own. It was... a forbidden locker. I'd accidentally discovered one day.
あった。北条、間違いない。
If one person has one locker, why would only Satoko have two? I made a fuss about it once. After that, I learned it was Satoshi's locker, and he had the same last name as her. But of course, even though there was a locker for a student no longer here, looking inside it was still a shameless act. But one time, I let my curiosity get the better of me and took a peek inside. Inside, it was average and worthless. At the same time, I hadn't been interested, so until now, I'd forgotten what had been in it. But now that I had, dare I say, awakened, I remember. The thing that had been there. Scrape. I opened the locker, and a stench of mold and sweat wafted out, like a gym storehouse that hadn't been cleaned in weeks. My face puckered at the stench, but I looked for it. Yes. Satoshi was on coach's baseball team. Inside the locker was a Hinamizawa fighter's uniform. And it... the one Satoshi used. The metal bat. I lived here. That's your locker? Your bat? He tends to do this when he fantasizes a possible scenario while in thought. Yeah, but like, some of the things he does just so random. Yes. This was the reason I wanted to choose this bat. This murder would be carried about by me. But this wasn't originally my role. It was Satoshi's. But I would stand in for him and call myself Satoko's Nini. It was one of the rules for standing in for him. I reached for the metal bat and grasped it firmly. It was light, and yet its tip had enough heft in it. Enough to easily imagine the horror if I brought it down with all my might. Satoshi, I'll give you one last chance to save your sister. Do you have any tips on becoming fat? Eat fast food every single day. And you can become fat like that. Lend me your strength. You're a coward, but I will stand in for you. So if you care a little bit about her, you will. I also don't, like, exercise. Stay at home. If you want to become fat like that. Sadly, I'm cursed with fast metabolism. Or eat a lot of fast food. Like, I don't know. Like, if it's fast metabolism, then, like, fast food is the best way. Drink lard. Yeah, that's also a way. There's no more suitable weapon in the world for putting that man to death than your bat. Now I just needed to figure out where to hide it. Tomorrow, before the act, I would just stop by the school and grab it, because I couldn't ignore the possibility someone else would see me bringing it home and think it was strange. But if I left it here, there wouldn't be a problem. Plus, tomorrow was Sunday. And I can't just sit at home. I'm an athlete. Well, then there's your issue. If you're an athlete, then that's already, like, half the difficulty. But if you're an athlete as well, there should be no problem in you, like, eating a lot. Like, a lot, and bulking. Plus, tomorrow was Sunday. Not only that, it was the day of the biggest festival in the whole village. Nobody would be coming to school. I left out the entrance and went to a construction vehicle parked nearby. We'd been warned by our teacher not to touch it just for laughs, so none of the kids would come near the vehicle either. They wouldn't, because if she found out they touched it, they'd be in huge trouble. I quietly hid it in the shadow of the vehicle. The chances of someone operating the vehicle tomorrow were slim to none, because tomorrow was Sunday. Government workers had the day off. You finished making the... Yeah, sure, we can see it. And from what my classmates had said, that thing had been left here for years now. Machines that haven't been moved in years, you can't just suddenly start them up again. So I was almost definitely fine in this case. Look at the yellow cat. What yellow cat? Where? Is there a cat somewhere? I don't see any cat. Had the heat been this harsh for the entire day? Oh, okay, yeah. This thing. Okay. Is it cute? Is this cute? The cat machine? A moment of dulled thoughts like this, or a moment of carelessness. Yeah, it's just sitting there. Are you Rena? Just everything's cute? All happy? Is this happy? Can you tell the machine's happy? I said in general, let me see. Moment of dulled thoughts like this. It was a moment of carelessness. I gave myself a couple hits in the head, then looked around wearily. Oh, wait, so what is the biome Z? It's like it's just a sphere smack dab in the middle of like a cave. Or like, not a sphere, an oval. Okay. Yup. So how can you tell? What about the machine, you would say, makes it happy? Like, what gives off the happiness vibe? Next, how to dispose of the corpse. Okay, so he has the murder weapon. So he's going through each thing one by one. I forgot what was the 4 things he needed. One was to dispose the corpse. One was the what to use to kill. And I forgot the other 2. Disposing of the corpse. Ultimate way. I'm not sure it's vibes based. Oh, okay. The ultimate way to create, not to create a beginning, was not to let the corpse be found. It was even more important than killing him. Thinking on it vaguely, the first thing that came to mind was a swamp. Onigafuchi, the dreadful bottomless swamp, revered even now, that appeared in the legends of Onigafuchi village. Yes, the swamp called Onigafuchi was here first, and the village took its name to become Onigafuchi village. In other words, this swamp was the origin of Onigafuchi village. No one, no matter who it was, would float back to the surface of this bottomless swamp. Everyone would be swallowed down into the land of the demons below earth. That was how the stories went. If I was trying to copy Oyashiro-sama's curse, then I felt that theory demanded I discarded the remains and the weapon into the swamp. I would send a sprite for the biome boss of the general, but you might be disgusted. It's fine. Being disgusted is alright. But they may have said it's bottomless, but I don't actually know. And people say large creatures like humans produce a lot of gas when they rot, granting a lot of buoyancy. It was why using fairly heavy objects to hold people down didn't work. Think of it, with the curse the year before last, Udika's mother drowned herself in the swamp. The criminal behind the dismemberment that went missing the year of the first curse too. It was rumored he tried to discard the body in the swamp and accidentally drowned in it. I never heard of the corpse coming back up, or them finding it. And shouldn't I choose to discard the corpse there too? I could discard the weapon there. And then, for example, if her uncle came out on a motorcycle and attacked it, it would be convenient to get rid of the bike too. I knew that Satoko's uncle generally used a motorcycle for transportation. But as for the corpse... After a lot of worrying, I decided not to discard the corpse in the swamp. The drowning, suicide, and accident were both rumors. Nobody knew if they'd actually happen. There were no lack of false rumors about the drowning suicide anyway. It was possible the murderer hadn't drowned there and was still on the run. That meant no one had ever confirmed a corpse being dropped in there and them then not coming back up. And what would I do with the body? I thought it might be interesting to go with the first incident, cut him to pieces and hide him, but the preparation and work for dismembering a human body would be difficult given the amount of time I had. With that other question, I arrived at the conclusion to go with the more orthodox method of burying the body. And where I would bury it was a question related to where I would kill him. Of course, I wanted to keep my time and proximity to the body at a minimum. With that in mind, I would want to dig the hole to dump the body in beforehand, make the location of the act and the hole close together. The choice of where to plan the crime. That I needed to be absolutely careful and thorough with. Let's see what you have here. It had to be somewhere nobody would witness it. And a place where, with hiding places for a sneak attack. Yo, that's cool! Did you, base it off of, Moonlord's model? It seems similar to it. Or did you? Is it you used no template? Like it's just blank. That's just its own thing. I go over the possibilities in my head of the various destinations her uncle would send from Satoko's house. Imagine a map of the area in my head, and then I found a place that fulfilled those conditions so easily it was almost unbelievable. A bit of a back road that went through the woods. Didn't think her uncle would go deeper into the mountains of Yagouchi on a whim. He was going somewhere. He passed through these woods first. And nobody used this back way unless they had something to do with Satoko's house or 1 or 2 other places. This path was fantastically ideal, as few people used it. I would wait for him in these woods. Would an ambush actually be possible? I went into the trees and really tried hiding myself in a few places. It was extremely quiet. My senses could be sharpened here to their maximum amount. I didn't know when he'd come, but I'd wait right here for Satoko's uncle. I actually had some trouble coming to that decision. The question arose whether I should somehow call the man out. Was there a risk I'd be taking by luring him out here? That man made Satoko do all the shopping and errands. He seldom left on his own business. He wouldn't leave. Unless I worked out a plan to force him to, would he? That was the question. Tomorrow was the Watanagashi festival. Would he go out for the festival or would he stay inside? If he stayed inside, how would I drag him out of his house? Give me 3 sentences. It's him planning the murder. That's what we're doing right now. That's all it is. So we're still planning the murder. We decided we're going to use a baseball bat, and right now we're deciding where it's going to take place. I've based the new boss sprite of the old one. What was the old one? Oh, sent the boss old sprite in general. Let me see. Wouldn't he make Satsuko go to the festival? Satsuko would go to the festival. Yo, that is pretty cool. What's the boss, like, designed for? Like, what's the... Is this a boss that you've told me about before, or is this a new one? Any more schizo stuff happen? Not yet. He's just apathetically going through the stuff, yeah. Wouldn't he make Satsuko go to the festival? Satsuko would go to the festival. Meanwhile, I would call this man. This is the Okinomiya police station. We have the young lady from your house. Could you come pick her up immediately? You even have to be the police. This is the clinic. This is the clinic. The young lady from your house has been injured. Please come and pick her up. Yes, that would work too. If I claimed to be the police or hospital and told him to come and then hung up on him, he'd rush there trying to figure out what was going on, wouldn't he? Just the other day, he was visited by a probation officer. He wouldn't suddenly grumble about having to get his niece and not go. It looked like child neglect. The man had no skills useful around the house. Satsuko, his slave, was an essential part of his daily life. Pretty sure it's a new one. How do you start fighting this boss? What do you have to do? And what does it, what does it represent, I guess? Conclusion? If he went out to the festival, I would attack him here, on his way there or back. If he didn't, I would lure him out by phone. If luring him out by phone was my first step, I needed to be sure Satsuko would go to the festival, leaving the house. It would be convenient if I could make Mion take Satsuko to the festival. She said her aunt was a district welfare officer. In other words, an ally to the probation officer. If I somehow incited Mion to take Satsuko to the festival with her, well, being who she was, she'd use that fact and get her there. Satsuko should just take a break and have fun at the festival with everyone. She should have a good time, reminisce on our former peaceful days. And when she went home, everything would be over. Yeah, that'd be the best outcome. With that decided, I needed to dig a hole somewhere in the woods to hide the body. So it wouldn't stand out, so it wouldn't be found. Someplace that nobody would see me while I was completely exposed as I buried the corpse. I'd wanted it to be close to the scene of the crime, but it naturally grew farther away. An NPC, and then he spawns randomly in cavern layer called the Possessed One. Oh, okay. So like, but the NPC has to be like in the cavern layer, right? Oh, like this spawns randomly, really? So how do like that feels very specific if it's like an NPC that spawns randomly in the cavern layer. Deep in the bosom of the Black Forest, the voices of the Higurashi were the only sounds here, informing me that people shouldn't indiscreetly set foot in this place. Digging a hole with so many tree roots crawling around the ground would be far more difficult than I envisioned. I snuck a gardening spade out here in my bag, but that wouldn't be enough. Still, as I looked into various approaches, I managed to find a place I could dig into. Tomorrow, I'd bring a real shovel from the storeroom at home. I'd manage with that. I wondered how big a hole it would have to be to fit a human all the way into. I'd probably have to dig pretty deep down. I just don't know how he's... Like, Keiichi is a scrawny guy. Like, and this guy is, big adult, and we know that he's a, delinquent person. So... He's a big dude. How is he... Even if he... Let's assume Keiichi does somehow manage to overpower him and kill him, right? How is he dragging the body over? Feels like he'll be too heavy. But if I was slipshod in these efforts, I'd let a beginning occur. I absolutely couldn't allow that. Use any amount of time you need to. I mustn't spare any effort to utterly erase him. I glanced at my wristwatch. It was a little past 6. This is probably all I was going to get done here for today. I really wanted to dig the hole in advance tonight, even if it got dark out, but Mom would be upset if I stayed out late. Really, Keiichi? That's what... you don't want to draw suspicion to yourself, I get it, but the way it's worded seems very weird, but I understand. Yeah, that's probably it. It wouldn't be good to come off as suspicious to my parents. Yeah, okay, he said it right there. My mommy will be upset. Yeah, that's how it like was portrayed. The NPC was on the ground. If you get it will turn. Oh damn. Okay. The fact that you have that long to prepare for the boss, though, is there a reason you waited like that long to prepare for the boss? Because usually, like when you spawn a boss, it like takes a short amount of time before spawning. With what? Yeah, no, it is. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. It is crazy, like how much cover-ups and everything is going on. And like even it's the FBI, you know, is meant to be like a neutral party, but even they are trying to hide things, which should not be the case. It's just a really like corrupt situation. It's just not good at all. Accountability, exactly. And that's the okay, so that's the thing. Accountability doesn't apply to people in power now, right? Like in the past couple decades, it just doesn't apply to people in power. In the past, there used to be these autonomous systems, right? Like the FBI was a autonomous thing, but what happened was one time there was a like sting operation, right? Or like there was a couple things, right? But where they basically did their own investigations and exposed some corrupt politicians, right? And then after that happened, the government reduced the power that the FBI had. And you know, it's stuff like that that's just like it's just so maddening to talk about it, because there's so many things in the past has been just completely, like for the US government at least, has been, and like honestly, a lot of the world is like following suit as well, right? Where they do not give these, you know, like the government, like these organizations are supposed to be separate entities from from Congress and everything, but they're not. They're supposed to be, but they like laws have prohibited them, and the people who place, you know, people in power who place other people into places of power, they just feed off each other, and they just like nothing can be done or will be done. It's just sad. I need to go back home and give Mion a call soon. Like the only time, like for example, the same thing with the FTC, right? Like it's supposed to stop monopolies. After Microsoft was broken up, no big monopolies have ever been like broken up again. Like Microsoft was like the last big monopoly that was broken up. Like imagine like Amazon or Google getting broken up. It hasn't happened. Like you can't imagine that happening in this day and age, but whereas it's supposed to be like a common thing that, like, you know, the government needs to step in to stop big monopolies from happening, but they don't. Yeah, satanic rituals involving big celebrities. No, it's absolutely just insane stuff going on with the files. Like, it is genuinely, like, you see the things that happen in the files, and it's like, how is this real? You know? It's, yeah. I need to get her to promise Satsuko to take her by tonight. After that, today would be done. Done. Would it be, though? Was this really everything I could do to prepare right now? I decided where to kill him. I decided how to kill him. I decided, of course, how to dispose the body. I didn't decide on a time, but I would play that by ear. I didn't have a way to decide that. Was that really all? Was this really all right? Have I overlooked anything? Would this really go how I planned? After all this, worry started welling up one after another. It was only natural I'd be anxious. This would be the first and last big job of my lifetime. I could not allow failure, and I had no experience as this was my first time. I didn't have the know-how, the knack, so it was only natural I'd be anxious. The dark clouds of unease told me nothing would be the easiest way. A truly pathetic suggestion this late in the game. Have you forgotten how miserable Satoko looked? From the outside, it may have looked like I was resolute, but deep in my heart, my knees were shaking loudly. I've never actually won a single fight to my satisfaction. Could I really kill someone? I've been planning on an ambush, but my enemy was large and far older than me. He had a scary face and looked like he was well accustomed to fighting. Could I have... All the pieces before and after the murder were perfectly planned. It was the actual murder, the most important part, what unsettled me the most. All my preparations, all my perfectly concealed machinations, if I didn't successfully murder him, they amounted to nothing. Damn it. After coming this far, you're pathetic, Keiichi Maebara. You start to have these kinds of second thoughts, your ulterior motive will be obvious. Let's go home. Go calm your mind. Tomorrow will be a juncture in your life, the likes of which graduation, employment, marriage, and childbirth couldn't hold a candle to. A day of murder. To kill someone for someone else's sake. With that day behind us, we would take it back again. Those mild, spring-like days we never thought would stop. Those safe, peaceful, fun times. I pedaled my back hard to get back home. I somehow felt unsteady, like my body and soul weren't in alignment. A subtle shift between where the tips of my hands and feet really were and where I felt them to be. My vision was a little distant and narrow, as if the great barrier I risked my future life on had nothing to do with me. An unreal sensation. How could I put it? Everything was so far away. Fine. Feel your unease permeate you, Keiichi Maebara. That will turn your timidity into meticulousness and allow you to act with greater caution, and it's actually an important emotion to feel. This feeling I had never went away that night. It was the first time I'd be calling Mion's house. I searched for her in the phone book the school gave me, and dialed a short phone number, the kind unique to remote places. Like, girl, calm down. Well, I mean, he is gonna murder someone, so I'm sure he has to be somewhat nervous. It was around dinner time. She'd probably be home. But just as I started to think nobody would respond, someone finally picked up the receiver.
その時です。
あ、夜分遅くにすみません。ミオンか。
どちら様です？
俺だよ、ケイイチだ。
ああ、ケイちゃんか。何こんな時間に。
Why does she not notice Keiichi's voice? Shion is greater than Mion. She seems to be in a weirdly good mood, and she drew her syllables out. Right, it's the night before tomorrow's festival, so she's probably with her family having some drinks.
悪いな、こんな時間に。
Not even Dexter nervous like this? Well, Keiichi's also 15 years old, so Dexter was an adult.
今、時間は大丈夫か？
うん。何？
さとこのことなんだけど。
I heard her drawing a small breath on the other
さ
end.
とこ、大変なことになっちゃったね。大丈夫かな？
The scent of sake had completely disappeared from her
大丈夫なわけ
voice.
ないだろ。
Dexter's 17 when he does his first kill. It's still a bit old, like still older, I would say. Like I think 15. Satsuko's the person being abused. Yes.
お前も見ただろ。あれ。あんな、擦り切れるまでにいじめんの。
Why do we swap over from phone voice to our normal
俺
voice?
たちはあんなになるまでずっと見捨ててきた。
見捨ててたわけじゃないよ。みんな助けようとして必死に考えてたよ。
でも結局何も思いつかなかったし、さとこを救えたわけじゃないだろ。結局あんなになるまで俺たちは何もできなかった。
そう。
But now we're back to phone
Dang.
voice.
私は結局見てただけかも。
だからさ、せめて
Keiichi, like,
一夜くらい。
Matt, you need to say something.
遊ばせるって。
あいつもいろいろと参ってるのわかるだろう。だからさ、明日の綿流しのお祭りにあいつを連れて行ってやってほしいんだ。
それは構わないけど、どうして？
どうしてって、せめて祭りの夜くらい息抜きさせてやりたいじゃないか。たとえ一夜でもあの意地悪なおじの元から離れられるなら、短い時間でもきっとさとこは喜ぶ。
だからどうして？
どうしてって何がだよ。
Why? Yeah. I was having a little difficulty to understand what Mion was
ど
asking
うし
me.
て？ケイちゃんが連れて行ってあげないの？私に頼まなきゃならないの？
Mion was persistent about odd things. No, maybe it'd be better to say that she was sharp.
実は ちょっと明日は用事があってさ。祭りには行けない。
I feel like this once again, Keiichi being the worst liar possible, like in the history of liars. I feel like if he said something like, "You saw how she reacted yesterday," you know, she wouldn't want to be around me, you know, like anything. Like, but every single time, consistently, Keiichi is the worst liar in the history
だからさとこ、
of like,
ミオンが連れて行ってやってほしい。
yeah, just lying.
用事って。
大した用事じゃないんだ。多分すぐに片付くと思うけど、ひょっとすると明日は合流できないかもしれない。
I feel like it would make sense though.
なあ、ミオン、明日の夜だけさとこを
I
頼
wonder
め
if
ないか。
Mion knows. Mion took a long time to give her reply. She absolutely 100% knows. I got the feeling that Mion had been acting weird for a while now. Like she was flustered by emotions or something.
いや。
Huh? Was that a sob? Mion? Are you crying?
私、嫌だって言ったじゃない。私なんかに押し付けられても困るって。
別に押し付けるつもりなんかないよ。明日の夜だけでいいんだ。
嘘だったじゃない。
What? Mion, what was she talking about?
また流しの夜だけって言って、結局ずっとだった。嘘つき。でもおあいこかな。私全然あなたとの約束。あの子はずっとほったらかしだしね。
I had no idea what to say to that. Mion was clearly not talking to someone other than me. I didn't know who. All I could do was just listen to her in a
あれ
daze.
からずっと帰ってこないのに、あの子のことをもう一度押し付けるためだけにまた電話をしてきたんですね。本当に。
What? Is she thinking that this is Satoshi or something?
ねえ、あなた、サトシ君、なんでしょう。
ミオン、さっきから何の話だ？
Okay, what was that guess? That's the only thing I could guess from reading the text. And I said her name. Whatever spell was on Mion released.
あはははは。ごめん。なんでもないの。ちょっと、ケイちゃんの今の電話にそっくりな電話を昔受けたことがあって。
Yeah, Keiichi's gonna disappear. Maybe the uncle... Satoshi's the brother? Yes. The Satoko's brother who disappeared.
それ、ひょっとしてサトシか？
Mion didn't answer. All I could hear were sobs coming through the receiver.
ごめんね。ちょっと私、寝ぼけてるみたい。変なとこで感情的になっちゃった。ごめんね。焦ったでしょ。
I had no idea how it happened, but I was pretty sure that last year, on this very day, Satoshi had called Mion and told her to bring Satoko to the festival. And when she asked why he needed her to do it, he replied the same way, just I
サ
did.
トシ、
Just like I
祭り
did.
に行かなかったんだな。
うん。用事があるから自分は行けないって言って。代わりに、私にサトコを祭りに連れて行ってくれって。
その時、サトシも言ったんだな。サトコを頼む。
And yeah, okay, so Satoshi probably beat the aunt to death, but then why did he disappear after?
うん。言ったよ。明日の夜だけ頼むってね。ケイちゃんの言い方があまりにもよく似てたんで。ちょっと思い出して取り乱しちゃった。
I didn't expect this. Satoshi had given her the exact same phone call 1 year ago today. After that, Mion had said more. That he was lying. That he told her it would be only for the night of the festival.
そうだったな。サトシは その数日後に。
Disappeared might have been a rather vague way to put it. Whether he ran away or not, Satoshi left, abandoning
そ
Satoko.
う。転校でもなく、家出でもなく、消えたの。
And then an idea far more indistinct than even fog crossed my mind. Maybe having a lot of soju is a good thing. Satoshi made the exact same phone call as me last year. So this is the second time where we've heard that Keiichi is doing the same events or the same actions as Satoshi. In the first chapter, Rena was talking about how he was doing the exact same as Satoshi, like how he was scared of them. And they were like had a bat and they were swinging it. And he's swinging it and like just kept them at bay. And like that's why he joined the baseball team and all that. So I wonder if like it's the okay. Why would Satoshi make the exact same call? If in the truest sense he made the exact same phone call as I am right now. And the incident where their aunt was beaten to death. That's could it
サトシだ。
何が？
Last year, Satoko had been constantly abused by her uncle's wife, their aunt too. Her aunt abused her the most, and on that night, in the name of Oyashiro-sama's curse, she was taken from this world. If I thought about that, everything made perfect sense, didn't it?
サトコのおばが殴り殺されたじゃないか。あれ、サトシってことは考えられないか。
No, but that would mean... But then Satoshi... He was a coward who abandoned Satoko and ran away, wasn't he? How could Satoshi resolve himself to kill a person to save Satoko? It was unthinkable!
私も実はそれを疑ったことがある。サトシには悪いけど。
A few days later, he disappeared on Satoko's birthday. When I first heard it, I flew into a rage. What a cruel day to have run away on. But now that I thought about it like this, the story changed completely. Satoshi had been even less calm than I was now. He was her big brother related by blood, watching his sister be abused day in and day out. Maybe that's why he couldn't keep his calm. Or is not Sergeant James Dokes. I mean, he's not. And that was why the corpse of their aunt beaten to death was so easily discovered. Satoshi lost himself in anger and hadn't hidden the corpse. He'd permitted a beginning to occur. If the police conducted a full-blown investigation, it was easy to imagine they wouldn't take long to pin down Satoshi as the culprit. Satoshi. He wished for a return to peaceful days with Satoko, and though he achieved it for a time, he had been steadily driven into a corner. And then he wanted to hold out until Satoko's birthday, but finally, they nailed him. Supposedly his friend had been through a tragedy, and now Keiichi plans... Yeah, I think this would be the perfect time to maybe not do it. Yeah, but... It seems like he's already been possessed and all that, so he's gonna go through it anyway. Yeah, Keiichi is like the most hot-headed person like in the entire thing. It's like he is the definition of act before thinking. Except in this one thing. But it's happened so many times where he's just acted out that he's actually gone full circle and now he's thinking so meticulously before actually doing the thing that he wants to do. At that time, Satoshi had been carrying the savings he had amassed to buy Satoko a giant stuffed animal for a birthday present. He would buy the stuffed animal as her gift and then get caught, or he could use the money and disappear. That was the choice he'd been forced to make, and he decided not to make Satoko the sister of a murderer. If that was the case, it must have been an unspeakably bitter decision. All that money he'd saved wanting to see Satoko happy, he had to use it to make her sad. And he used the savings and disappeared to Tokyo, if the rumors were true.
サトシはそれで消えたのか。
それはわからない。大石なんかはそう思ってるみたいだけどね。
Oishi. Had he been slowly driven into a corner by that repulsive man's pig-headed pursuit?
確かに状況証拠は揃ってるけど、多分ケイちゃんの推理は外れだと思う。県内のどっかで捕まったろくでなしが犯行を自供したっていうし。
That was right. The deviant had confessed, and the incident was solved.
そいつは本当にただの異常者で、ひなみ沢とは何の縁もない男だったって。
I wonder if it really was.
もちろんサトシとも何の関係もない。だからそんな奴がサトシの身代わりになって嘘をついてくれたなんて到底思えないし。
What is that, Z? Is that an equation that Albert Einstein made? You couldn't arbitrarily decide like that. You never know where or how humans are tied together. Is the mass of a circle? What's the with the slashes then there? You never know where or how humans are tied together. If the guy took the blame, then it was the perfect crime. Of course, if it was really a perfect crime, there would have been no reason for Satoshi to vanish. Latex equation. I see. Okay, okay. Never used that before. So I can't exactly type it out. Makes sense, makes sense.
サトシが預金を下ろした日、これは誰に言っても信じてくれないんだけど、サトコのために買うと言ってたぬいぐるみが売れてショーケースからなくなってたの。きっとサトシが買ったに違いない。
ちょっと待てよ。逃走資金に使わないでぬいぐるみを買うために使ったなら、サトコのところへ帰るはずだろ。ぬいぐるみを買ってそれを届けもせずに蒸発するなんて
Unless something happened to
考え
him.
られない。
だからわからなくなっちゃうんだよ。まとまったお金があるならともかく、貯金を全部使っちゃったなら、サトシは無一文。お金もなく逃亡生活ができるほど。
I didn't get it. After all that, I was understanding Satoshi less and less. The two of us fell silent. I can remember how we even got on this topic.
ごめん。どこで話が脱線しちゃサトコの件ね。安心していいよ。実はもうちゃんと誘ってあるんだよ。
え？本当かよ。
祭りの準備でみんなで神社に行った時さ、サトコを祭りに呼ぼうって話にな
If
った
I
ん
have
だ
to type it out, it'll look like... Okay, yeah. That makes more sense. That makes more sense.
それで集会所の電話でそのまま電話して誘ったんだ。
So that's the one I know. I did not know about the thing up above what you wrote.
おじのやつ、よそよそしくて勝手にしろみたいな感じだったけど、とりあえず OK はしてくれた。明日みんなで待ち合わせしていくことになってるんだよ。安心した？
He didn't seem to care at all, is that what he said? So he's not like it was acting antagonistic, he just didn't care. You're a circle, you should know this. I'm a blob, okay? My shape changes form. I'm just compressed right now because I'm sitting down.
サトシ。
バカ。俺はサトシじゃないって。
I was a little relieved. I hadn't needed to make the phone call. Satoko had already been invited to the festival. And in a way that smelled of blood. A way to leave her uncle alone to create time for me to kill him. King Slime looking ass. I do not have a crown on my head, though. Not in the way that smell of blood. A way to leave her uncle to... Oh, yeah. They purely wanted Satoko to enjoy herself, so they invited her. In the end, it was the same. But I was happy for that slight
すまない
difference.
な。俺が電話をするまでもなかった。昨日にしろ今日にしろ。変な話ばかりして。すまないな。忘れてくれ。
こっちこそ。本当に申し訳ない。
Excuse me.
柄にもなく取り乱しちゃって。本当にごめん。
We apologized to each other for a little bit.
じゃあ俺はこれで失礼するな。おやすみ。
何の用事？
As if interrupting our parting words, Mion struck straight where it hurt.
それもまた、サトシと同じように言えない？
バカ。だから俺はサトシじゃないって言ってるだろ。
そんなのは。
I deflected her with a response that wasn't really an answer. Mion didn't tout me anymore after
じゃあ
that.
今度こそおやすみな。
どうしてケイちゃんがサトシ君と全く同じ電話をしてきたのかわからないけれど、なんでもない。ごめんね。おやすみ。
切るぞ。
Click. Satoshi Hojo. Just who are you? I scorned you as a coward who ran away, abandoning his sister. I always thought you didn't have the right to call yourself her Nini. But now I didn't know what to think. Oyashiro-sama's curse on the 4th year, their aunt's death and Satoshi's disappearance, and now me trying to carry out Oyashiro-sama's curse on the 5th. Oddly enough, what I was going to do overlapped perfectly with Satoshi, the day before the curse. No, that wasn't all. We start back from Satoko being abused. You didn't know it's mirrored. I did see. It was looking weird. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that's reversed. But I didn't say anything because it's like... What? If I say, I'm pretty... Like, Why does that look different? And then you're gonna say, no, that's not true, it's not different. And then you're gonna say, like, you're going crazy, and that would be like, maybe I am. And then we'll leave it at that. If we start back from Satoko being abused, then I'd been overlapping with Satoshi for days already. When I talked to Mion before, she asked me if I was Satoshi. If that was the first impression a third party like Mion got, then it was probably true. And as Satoshi had accomplished, I would succeed in the murder. I should have done that, to be honest. Were you not gonna do that? But that was the extent to which we overlapped. I was far calmer than Satoshi and more calculating. I could actually grow calmer the more enthusiastic I became. Keiichi, for you, I don't think that's the case. That's why I wouldn't follow in Satoshi's footsteps. I would snip him cleanly out of the world and then get our peaceful life back. Maybe Satoshi has been with me ever since I chose to use Satoshi's bat as my weapon. No, maybe even longer than that. When I decided I'd be her Nini, maybe Satoshi had been residing within me then, too. Satoshi, were you really a coward? Or are you a true... Why do you say that, Z? I don't think your mind is dumb. I mean, you created this entire Terraria thing, and it seems like you do a lot with your time, so... I don't think so. Or are you a true Nini even now? The kind worthy of Satoko's love. I never met him, never spoken to him, didn't know his face, and yet I felt so connected to him. I never felt this way before. And on we go to the next chapter. One more? Yeah, we're definitely doing one more. This is only an hour. We have tips, but we still have a lot of time. A game dev, yeah. To be honest, I'm dumb. I wouldn't say that. And you flip it again. The housewife slaughter incident. July 1982. Okinomiya police station. Like, okay, I can understand stuff like canceling. Like, why do you not want to put the date here? Why put July and then the year, but then not put the date? Like, there's only 31 days it could be. Why does it matter so that much? Okinomiya Police Station. 1st Investigative Division. Chief Takasugi. Yeah, why'd you say both my names? Both my aliases. Prefecture Police Headquarters for the eradication of drug-related crime. Shishibone Branch Head. Regarding incident, designation as undercover investigation. This message is to inform you that a section of the testimony records of an incident under the police headquarters jurisdiction had been found. Can I name all of yours? No, you've changed it so often. There's obviously Dionea, there's Dionea SSBM, there's Witch Fan, there's Ibuki with like a bunch of numbers. I know there's a 1 in there. There's, what is it? Slushy, and one of them was surpluses and one of them was yours. There's one more, like one before Ibuki. Like, I forget, when you first came into, like, your very first day, like, first week into stream was, like, a different name, and I can't remember what that was. Something else, yeah, and then I think you have, like, 2 more. I have no clue. Maybe, like, Marissa Lover 5000, I don't know. This message is to inform you that a section of the testimony records of an incident under the police headquarters jurisdiction has been found. It is thought to be related to the undercover investigation of the incident in question. Z Terraria. My name is... Yeah, it is easy to remember. And then Ruben is just his actual name. Okinomiya Police Station. Inomizawa Village. Housewife slaughter incident. During investigation of suspect... who was arrested for possession of illegal drugs, there was a testimony alluding to the crime in question, and it became clear that it contained information that only the perpetrator could have known. Therefore, we prepared to share this record of testimony with you. Duplicate attached. I have nothing to hide. I see, yeah, true. This testimonial is to be believed, and there's an extremely high chance that suspect blank was the perpetrator in the incident in question. In addition, on receiving this testimony, the head investigator on the case inquired as to the incident with the Okinomiya Police Station. The responsible party at Okinomiya Police Station misunderstood, and in compliance with the designation as an undercover investigation by executive order from Prefectural Police Headquarters on July 1st, 1982, Administration, B1 to 12. Oh, Jigsaw! That's what it was! What was Hod? Oh yeah, Hod the... Okay. It was, yeah, Slushy and Hod, okay. Ibuki, Dynea, and yeah, the SSBM tag, okay. Dang it, I rage quit. Why'd you rage quit? From what? They did not explain the incident's existence to the head investigator as they should have. Because of this, the head investigator did not realize the importance of the testimony as it related to the case in question. As a result, it was negligent when combining the scene. We apologize for having effectively ignored it until now. In addition, there's a postscript stating that suspect died while in confinement yesterday on... Oh. Nobody knew about that it died in confinement. Okay. I think this is the longest we've gone without, like, usually Watanagashi happens, like, up here, right? But it's gonna happen, like, down here. This feels like almost the end. Let me check. How many achievements are there still? Yeah, it feels like it's close to the end. You've yet to make another page. Okay, let's go. Continue. Sunday. The fireworks I heard before noon were probably to announce the opening of the festival. And the weather certainly wasn't festival weather, it was cloudy. The television broadcast, or forecast. Before I continue, let's watch your thing. Before we get more into it. What happened that... Oh, is it because this person knows they're going to die? Is that why they paused? Yeah, okay, they know they're gonna die. Okay. They're supposed to go down. Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's like they knew they pressed too much, and you're one of the worst reactors of all time. What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? Like, what do you want me to say? Genuinely? You're one of the worst reactors of all time. What do you want me to say here? Like, let me know how I can improve as a reactor. Oh my, is he screaming because he died? No! I'm asking I was asking, why did he pause here? I'm asking, why did he pause here? And I realize, oh, it's because he's going to die. Obviously, it's because he's gonna die, right? But I'm wondering why it paused before the death. And I realized, oh, it's because it's going to crash into the thing still better than Sniper Wolf. Yeah, I'm sorry. You can't call me the worst reactor of all time when Sniper Wolf exists. At this point, my heart rate is 200 BPM. Damn. Oh, this is you. I see. Okay. So is this the furthest you've ever made it before? Is that why? She does, like, that's all she does. Just does reactions. That's why you're screaming so hard. Oh, okay. That's why I was screaming so hard. I see. Well, did you eventually end up beating it? It took me 7 months. Okay. The television forecast was calling for possible downpours starting this evening and lasting until around midnight. Piss me the fuck off. I mean, I can see that. It's like you were finally getting further, and it's like you could hear the adrenaline kicking in, and then it stops. Like, you just immediately die. The television forecast was causing for possible downpours starting this evening and lasting until around midnight. But as long as it wasn't raining at the moment, the festival would go on. The festival had to open, or it wouldn't begin. The Furude shrine gowns were probably decorated beautifully with a big performance that only happened once a year. Yeah, worst reactor ever, yeah. I try my best to actually do input, right? But, I mean, I just don't like reaction content, genuinely. Sorry. I like watching reaction content when it's people that, like, for example, if it's somebody that it's like a game that I know plays the game that, like, let's say it's an Overwatch streamer and I watch an Overwatch thing, I like seeing reactions to the content for that, because I like watching the chat and stuff, right? But if it's like just watching you, I've never liked just reaction content to watching YouTube videos. I mean, no, I'm not saying, like, I know people who enjoy reaction content, and it's like, I can understand that. The only thing I think I have watched reaction stuff to for people like I don't care about is like Expedition 33, and like every single like hype scene in Expedition 33, seeing people play it, like their reactions to that. That's like the only thing I think I've watched where it's like that. Geometry Dash it was a weird game, why do you say so? Many paper lanterns were hung up, all in the auspicious colors of red and white. The sound of electric motors at the stalls. The voices of kids running around. I think reaction content is good when you have stuff you can add to the thing. Like, if you are able to, like, give context to something, or if you're able to, like, give some sort of information, like, because you're not just reacting to it, you're, like, adding more to it. Yeah, the thing that pisses me off the most is, like, when I see reaction content, and all they're doing is, like, smiling, or it's, like, laughing, just, like, yeah. Like, if you... Actually, yeah. When Jackson's did parody Sniper Wolf account. That's exactly what he did. Which was really funny. The voices of kids running around. Their happy families watching them, smiling. Today was the festival of Watanagashi. Was everyone already partaking in the festivities? What about Satoko? Had she forgotten her days of suffering for a few moments, while smiling that brilliant smile she hadn't in so long? This would probably be the longest day of my life. It'll be a day I'd remember vividly for as long as I lived. I told my parents I'd go to the festival this evening and lounge around during the early afternoon. We may have lived under the same roof, but they couldn't help being surprised by the deviation from how I usually spent my time. Okay, but I don't understand, Keiichi. Why can't you go to the festival? If, like, you know, you were talking about your friends going to the festival in the early afternoon, why not go to the festival and then later on leave? What's the issue with going beforehand? Why'd you have to stay at home? The Geometry Dash is the only game that almost killed a person with a single button. Is that you? Like, you almost dying there? That's cool type shit. I try my best not to do that, but I know I'm not a good reactor. That's why I don't like, if you guys, like, I have the option to send videos, but it's like, generally, I feel like I'm just wasting people's time watching them, genuinely, because I don't feel I add anything to them. Glancing at my parents out of the corner of my eye, I went to the front door. But I understand people just want to send something if they just want to show me something, which is fine, but don't expect, like, anything good, because I don't know how to react. I tied my shoes just a little tighter than normal, as if to express the firmness of my resolve in those knots. When I decided to murder Satoko's uncle, I was in such a state of excitement I almost went crazy. When I was planning, and also, to be honest, it's just there to use channel points, you know, because otherwise we would all just be sitting on channel points with nothing to do. When I was planning out the act of a murder, which went directly against all the morals fostered in me thus far, I was in such a state of calm, I almost thought I'd lost my emotions. And then yesterday, when I learned Satoshi had made the exact same phone call as me, I didn't know how to describe the muddled feelings I had then. And now entering today, right now I lacked all the emotions I'd possessed until now. To make a simple analogy, it was the kind of feeling you might get right after you wake up, when you're still half asleep and you don't feel anything very clearly. I had no anger towards that man for the violence he'd committed against Satoko. His current record of the highest rate BPM, which is... wow! I didn't know a heart attack, your, like, heart beats really, really fast. I didn't even know that. I thought it just, like, stopped. The more you know. It's crazy. Like, how is that even achieved? Nor did I feel sadness towards or sympathize with her. I felt no discontent towards my friends who had just watched and waited, or just waited and watched, never reaching out to her with any help. And no nervousness or fear towards the day that had finally come. I mean, understand nervousness, but 215 is wild. Yes, right now you could say I was in the best possible condition for carrying out a murder. When it came down to that, I would probably need to let my violent emotions take control. He has to let the wolf out. But right up until that moment, I would be like an insect. I would slowly, surely, and silently move towards my one objective. And then, when I had my prey, I'd attack like a bullet, just like a wolf in a hunt. Keiichi being in a state of apathy when he doesn't feel anger and uncle, yeah, it is not. Like, literally ever since that day, like, I guess yesterday, ever since yesterday, when, like, his brain switched to, like, detective mode, he's felt no emotions. He's completely apathetic. Like, that entire section, last segment, and then now, it's just complete apathy. There was no emotion in that. Just the creeping mindset insects possessed. That sort of sneaking feeling was just the best. I would kill Satoko's uncle like he was a worm. I had to laugh a little at thinking that way. Thinking. Like an insect. Why kill a worm? Yeah, why kill a worm? Don't you know the saying, like, would you love me if I was a worm? That could be somebody. And you're killing them. That could be somebody that someone loves and you're killing them. And some levels take 12 hours long. Do people really sit and, like, play a map for 12 hours? That seems like, what are you gonna do for bathroom breaks? What are you gonna do for, like, eating? What are you gonna do for, like, anything? That seems ridiculous. I tightened my laces and one more time walked out the door. I brought the shovel out of the front storeroom. I needed to dig the man's grave. The shovel was a convenient one made for camping. If I twisted it like so and split it into 3, I could easily hide it in my bag. It's not like it's heavy input the entire time? Well, I'm pretty sure they could be if they wanted to. I twisted the shovel and dismantled it. Even though I'd done it countless times before, I had trouble for some reason. Like I was suddenly clumsy now. They can pause it, but some people prefer doing all that in one sitting. I mean, yeah, it like ruins your flow if you pause and like go do other things. I definitely understand that, but it still seems ridiculous. I knew why. It wasn't because I was nervous. My weak-willed self, deep within me, was hesitant. I knew that the act of dismantling the shovel was the first step I'd take to becoming a murderer. The last twist was conspicuously difficult, but it finally submitted before the strength of my determination. The area around Satoko's house was outside my circle of activity, but even just riding my bike in the middle of the day like this might seem suspicious to an observant person. I definitely wanted to avoid meeting and talking to someone I knew. With that in mind, I chose the route to my destination carefully. I didn't mind going the long way around. With how long this day would be, I could never be too careful after all. Keiichi's the K Harbor teacher. The Keiichi Harbor my Baracher. Sorry, I'm stretching. Still, I was fortunate enough to not run across anybody on my way to the planned site of the crime. I wasn't superstitious at this point, but it was a good omen. The place I would dig the hole was in this grove, a little further into the woods. I was worried that I might not make it to the same place as before, since there were no signs to guide me, but I arrived there smoothly and as expected. I took another look around. It's what it feels like to murder someone. What, you have no emotion, just happiness on your face, hold a gun? Not even a hint of human presence. The air was a little bit damp, but it was comfortable in the cool shade of the trees. I took the disassembled shovel out of my bag and began skillfully putting it together. Then I stuck the tip of the shovel into a soft-looking patch of the ground and pushed on it with my foot. The shovel would split into the earth if I put some strength into that foot. The act of doing so seemed awfully like the point of no return, and it made me hesitate. It was just digging a hole with a shovel, but it made me gulp hard. I'm down. Keiichi Maebara. Let's do a countdown. Get it done on the count of 3. Okay? Alright. 1, 2. I couldn't go on the countdown despite it just sticking the shovel into the ground. And I had to count down 5 or 6 times. Damn it, I'm just digging a hole. This is pathetic. As I thought that, I put strength into my heel like I was stepping on something unpleasant. And split came the sharp noise. It was only soft at the beginning, Roots and stones quickly got in my way, informing me just how hard it was to dig a hole big enough for a person. No decent person would ever come here anyway. Maybe it would be enough to cover him up with some dirt. Every time a naive thought came like that crept into my mind, I bit down on it with my teeth and dug even harder. Is Keiichi's 15? Yeah, he is 15. I've dug enough now. I could hide him like this. Every time I thought that, I would go down to the hole, grow disappointed at how shallow it was, and return to digging. Why did he sound so deep? I mean, he's just grunting, I guess. Normally, he doesn't sound very deep. The thin layer of sweat on my brow eventually formed into drops and fell on the ground. My back was in even worse shape. My damp shirt adhered to my skin and it felt so disgusting. The things I couldn't stand the most were the mosquitoes. Maybe they were attracted by the scent of my sweat. The white and black striped mosquitoes would cling onto me whenever I let my guard down. Did he pre-order mature? Maybe. Maybe Keiichi's actually a Giga Chat and we didn't know. No, that's him letting the wolf out. That's what it is. It was hot. It was disgusting. I was sticky. I was itchy. All those uncomfortable feelings surged through me in waves.
くそったれ。だからなんだってんだよ。
I hadn't yelled at anyone. It was me talking to myself. Me telling myself something. Why was I feeling this way? Digging a hole all the way out here. What benefit would digging this hole give me? What harm would there be in not digging this hole at all? Wait, in the first place, who ordered me to dig? When I thought it over, maybe ever since grade school, even before that, my whole life had only been me doing what other people told me. It didn't mean somehow I was constrained, living a life based on the command of others. And I didn't mean I was too lazy to try and find my own road in life. Metaphorically speaking, yes, it was like a road. I'd never been particularly physically fit. I didn't hit puberty very early, and if all my classmates and I got in a line, I'd usually be on the shorter end. My scores in jump rope competitions and marathons were the very picture of average. Being average is better than being, like, below average. You can look at it that way, Keiichi. It wasn't like the captains of the dodgeball teams would have a passionate rock, paper, scissors contest to see which would get me. During those kindergarten and grade school years, it felt like someone was only worth with how fast they grew and how fit they were. Looking back on it now, it was really uncomfortable for me. The thing that turned all that around was just a few words from my mother.
ケイチ、あなた塾に入る気はない？学校の勉強がわかるようになって楽しくなるわよ。
The very first test I took at cram school was kind of like a game. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't like the test with the same exact problem dozen of times in a row. Every question had a picture to it, almost like one of those puzzle books that came with manga magazines. If my studies at school had been like this, it would have been way more fun. Several days later, I went to cram school again with my mother and the enrollment paperwork. Mom and the person at the cram school had a really long, heated discussion, so I accidentally dozed off and missed most of what they said, but I clearly remember one point. Mom had made a loud groan, surprised at something.
61って平均点が61点ですか？
いえ、違いますよ、お母さん。全国展開する当塾での平均偏差値が61です。簡易式の知能検査でも非凡な数字が出ています。まず申し上げて、前原圭一君は大変に頭がいい。
Really? Keiichi Maebara is extremely bright. I don't think there's a single time I've seen that yet.
でも学校では大した成績じゃありませんし、通信簿も2、3、4が適当に並ぶ平均的なもので、何かの間違いではありませんか？
いくつかの知能テストとも重ねましたが、その結果、興味深いことが分かりました。前原君は意味を持たない問題に非常に弱いのです。無味乾燥で自身の生活に結びつかない内容の問題に興味が持てないのです。
2たす3は分からなくても、リンゴが2個あって3個増やしたら何個に、という形なら理解できる。
その通りです。例えば正六面体の展開図を書けと言われて混乱する圭一君も、サイコロを切り開いたらどんな形になるというふうに聞けば見事に答えられるのです。
Then the person from the cram school showed her a page from one of the exams I took. It was a paper with questions about construction. Construction questions were unusual, so they were really cool, weren't they?
正二十面体の展開図を書けという問題です。この問題を二十面体のサイコロを作るにはどんな風に厚紙を切ればいいと聞き直したら、圭一くんはさも簡単そうにこれを書いてみせました。これは平凡なことではありません。
ケイチ、あなたどこかの本の雑誌の付録か何かで二十面体のサイコロを作ったことがあったの？
Dice only went from 1 to 6. I never even considered before this test that there were dice with more than 6 sides. So it was fun to imagine what kind of shape a die that went up to 20 would have. If I had a die like that, I could win at Snakes and Ladders against anyone. So I immediately wanted to make it. Finally, I entered cram school. There were only 4 students in the class they put me in, which was called Select. It was the highest class, and some of my classmates were in lower classes. When I remembered how much better they had done at things like dodgeball and the 50-meter sprint, I felt happiness well up within me for the first time. Even if I wasn't as good at them physically, I triumphed over them in other ways. It was fun at first. The more I did, the more I was praised. My teachers at school suddenly started pampering me, and it felt good. My parents were satisfied too, and I enjoyed seeing them satisfied. The more I listened to my parents' commands, the more fun things got. So is he actually planning the perfect crime then? Because this is a problem that has to do with the real world. Only thing is, if he has the physical attributes to pull it off. Which I don't think he does. I don't know how he's overpowering the uncle here. That did happen, didn't it? I grinned dryly in self-deprecation, because, well, my studious lifestyle didn't end up lasting very long. It was only at the beginning. I enjoyed learning more and more. I gradually got along less with my friends. My classes were behind what I was learning in cram school, and I eventually stopped respecting the teachers, given that they could put me to sleep with their lectures. And well, I was a disagreeable sort who bragged a lot about how much I knew, and all the ways of the world wouldn't let me remain in that state of ecstasy forever. I would do as I was told, then I'd go above and beyond their expectations, and then they praised me. I was happy for that, and the cycle repeated itself like the wheels on a bike. I thought moving forward like that was how life worked, like a bicycle. When I moved to Hinamizawa, I realized just how inadequate it was. Some things happened, and we started saying how moving and getting a change in atmosphere would be nice. And then my father, he had a place he liked. He'd gone to a few times to draw the nature. He started saying that he wanted to bring his atelier there. With me in blank amazement, they decided to move to Hinamizawa. And after that, I met them. Didn't I? First day after transferring here, I went to the classroom with the teacher. I thought it would seem pitiful for her to bring me in there, so I placed my hand on the door before she could, slammed it open, and set foot into the room. That makes a lot of sense, Ruben. That really makes a lot of sense, actually. Like I never thought about that before, but that makes so much sense. The thrilling, powerful way I opened that door was none other than my own determination to try doing my life over again. And then within seconds, that determination took a hard counter to the face. A blackboard eraser fell on me. Plus, there's a huge rock inside. It was a supremely painful trap someone had set up. Oh, come on, Satoko's already beating me right from the first day I transferred. It frightened me. I was bewildered. The class was surprised too. I wasn't just surprised that the students in the class were all in different grades and were different genders. It was because the room felt completely different from the schools I knew. And as I spent more time with them, my surprise continued to grow. The fresh sense of surprise had never left my life, even to this day. Every day was a fresh new surprise. I'd never had a single boring day since coming here. The days were lively, spent with the other club members. We played Old Maid with cards, with scratches on the back to cheat. We let all our passions go wild during the games. We went all out as regular participants in tournaments at the toy store in town, and many, many more things. Recently, during those times, there was the bento competition. It was that's when I saw an unexpected side to Satoko. Thinking back on it, I only ate dinner with her 2 nights. It was such a sweet, gentle time spent, and it warmed my heart remembering it even now. I realized that Satoko was pretending to be stubborn and firm, and how brave she was, part of her heart always waiting for her Nini to come home. And I vowed to become her Nini. Tatsuko may have been nagging and overly critical, but she knew how to take care of someone. But though it might have seemed like she was taking the lead, it was actually her way of depending upon another person. Even if Satoshi and Satoko's lives as siblings were confined by their uncle and his wife, there were still warm, sunny days. When did those sunny days all go wrong? What mistake was made? Lamenting tragedies of the past would do no good, and I told myself that so many times. But I did it anyway. Keiichi, isn't that why you chose your own path, to take back that life? Nobody ordered you to do this. You decided it on your own. You don't desire anyone's praise for this. You thought it all through yourself. You'll carve it out yourself, and you'll do it now. This wasn't a path I could see very far down, not like the road parents or society could offer. It was a narrow path, dark and utterly distressing, one for which the next step would always be shrouded in darkness. But that disheartening path would keep going on forever. No, I mean, that backstory definitely shined a lot and made, like, obviously there's the emotional stuff, right? But until they, like, talked about his backstory with him, like, the tests and all that, that makes a lot of sense. It was an unlimited path, and there was nowhere I couldn't travel. The kind of path only available to those able to imagine where they wanted to go. Don't be ashamed at breaking from the brightly lit paved road. In fact, feel proud that you found your very own path to walk. And I hadn't discarded the paved road either. Once I achieved my goal, I would go back to that bright road, and then I'd spend those average, sunny days at my leisure. Brush. When I next realized that the hole had grown so deep I couldn't believe it. Did I dig all this myself?
これだけ掘れば十分じゃないか。
I put my shovel into the bottom of the hole. I would drag the body here, throw it in the hole, and cover it up with dirt. Even if it took me time to camouflage it by putting plants on top, it would all go much more easily than digging this hole had. I glanced at my watch. It was almost evening and I hadn't realized it. I may not have felt the time passing, but digging a hole this deep might have taken quite a lot of time. It definitely does, and genuinely, it actually changes my outlook on him. Like, now that you've told me that. It really does. Now, once it got a little darker, I'd go get the metal bats I hid in the schoolyard. Then I'd make the call to lure him out. And then I'd do it. The number of things I needed to do to reach that moment were dwindling. I felt that moment closing in on me much more keenly than I did the passage of time. I didn't have any hesitation, but I still felt a contradiction. At every step in this process, I had a few chances to hesitate, to turn back, to let myself lose my nerve. Having to endure those million temptations and wait for when the time was right was an indescribably slow and painful torture. I had thought myself acting all weak because of that, but I stopped midway through. This was okay. It was fine. I could detest the abnormal act of homicide as much as I wanted, and it didn't matter. I wasn't going to be a cutthroat killer after today. I would pass through this strange day and go back to the world I was in before. If I fell to the level of a psychopath who thought nothing of killing, I wouldn't be able to go back to my old life. So, this was fine with me. I didn't have to feel ashamed at hesitating to kill, because I was human. It was so funny to me that I'd be the bearer of Oyashiro-sama's curse at the same time I was aware I was human. I exhaled lightly and stood. I concealed my presence and sharpened my senses in all directions to search for anyone around but me. Okay. Let's go. One step at a time. I would walk my own path. A path no one had forced me to
行く
walk.
ぞ。前原圭一。
The cicadas made an annoying fuss. Their chorus covered up the suspicious noise of me breaking twigs underfoot. And the chorus filled the paths far ahead of me, letting me know I would be alone for some time. The cicadas blessed the path I walked, encouraging me with every last ounce of strength they had. The sky was far above. Not even an hour, the veil of night would draw near and the sky would be tinted with dusk. By that time, the Higurashi would let me hear their chorus in place of the cicadas. When that happened, would everything be over with? Would everything have ended? I said something along those lines when I left Satoko's fate up to a public agency. But this time was different. I would do it. I would carry it out. I would end it. It would all be over very soon. Everything would end. Yes. When the Higurashi cried. The title drop rolls credits. Absolute cinema. Nothing beats this. Just wait. Yeah. Was that this stream? I really thought that was last stream. Damn. There was nobody at school. I couldn't hear the playful voices of children. This was the first time I'd seen the school with such a lack of human... Okay, but... if there's nobody here, Keiichi... I guess no. I was gonna say, how can you be like so confident the door's not locked, but he left it by the thing, so that's fine. Still, I quieted my breath and looked around, not wanting to be unprepared. It had gotten darker outside, but it was almost like my eyes could see more clearly now. I made absolutely sure of my safety, then walked to the heavy construction machine I'd hidden the metal bat behind. I had a tinge of worry, a premonition that someone had found the bat and hidden it somewhere else as a prank. If that had happened, would I take that opportunity to desist? If it really wasn't there, then... The sensation of chilled metal. It was still here, where I left it. It hadn't run away. Satoshi hadn't run away. He'd waited here, patiently, for me. If you really think about it, all doors are unlocked, you just have to put extra effort to go in. So how do you recommend he goes about doing that, assuming it was locked? Like, if he had to break down the windows, then that would be leaving evidence, no?
待たせたな、サトシ。いよいよだが、
I see.
覚悟はいいか。
Just like... maybe there's a way to just break down the door. Because I was thinking maybe he breaks the window. Maybe there's a way to break down the door if he has, like, the log, as you were saying. Through the metallic touch, Satoshi grins at me in my mind. That's what I should be asking, you know? I did this last year already. You should be more worried about yourself.
上等だぜ、サトシ。目に物を見せてやろうぜ。
Satoshi's bat got lighter and lighter, and fit into my hands like it was being absorbed. It didn't feel wrong to swing this. I could move it around so naturally, it was like an extension of my own right arm. Of course it felt like that. Satoshi and I were holding one bat together. Next, I would make the call to lure the man out. It wasn't a bad time for it. My friends were doubtlessly parading happily through the stalls. I hadn't considered where to make the call from. My house and Satoko's were pretty far apart. If I called from my house, I wouldn't make it. Couldn't I use the school phone? But as I thought, the room was locked up and... okay, yeah, so it is locked. He was smart, makes sense. I thought she's and how he behaved just has a pretentious vibe. I'm certain I've mentioned that before. The backstory backs it up. Definitely. I mean, he definitely even talked about it. Like, he believes himself to be pretentious as well. Shit. I'm so naive. You should have at least figured this part out. I couldn't call him. And for that, was today all over? I'm sorry, Satoshi. Just as I cursed my own naivety, a miracle occurred. A bicycle came into the schoolyard. It was a familiar, middle-aged man. The one from the Forest Service field office. Why? Wasn't today Sunday? Was he here to pick up something he forgot? Anyway, the forest officer went around back and felt around in his pocket, and then unlocked the front door and entered. The best possible coincidence, and it had to be Satoshi who saved me. The metal bat, through just my contact with it, told me this was a chance I couldn't allow to slip by. The sections for the forest office and the school were neatly separated. I felt the man head into the forest office storehouse, which was so far in the back students weren't allowed in. The door didn't match its fittings well, so it didn't close all the way, and the gap in the door opened slowly as if to lure me in. Took a deep breath and went in. I tiptoed along, silently and stealthily, and made it into the teacher's lounge. That was the only place with a phone. As I held my breath in the teacher's lounge, I heard the Forest Service officer walking back over, and the back door clattered shut and was locked. I glanced out the window at the schoolyard and watched as the man got on his bike like nothing had happened. Okay, but did the man not see Keiichi? Like, Keiichi saw him. If the man entered through the front door, did he not see Keiichi come in? Or, like, Keiichi is there and then he's not there? Like, is he just... Okay, maybe that's just me. The man is blind. That's what I feel like, but... I don't know. He's invisible, yeah. He might be. The school once again emptied, becoming deathly silent. I waited for a bit to make sure the silence was the real deal, then reached for the telephone on the principal's desk. I fished Satoko's house's phone number out of my pocket. I wouldn't say, yeah, definitely, but I mean, he has to set the plan in motion somehow, and just like every crime, things are not going to go as smoothly as it's planned. Like, something's going to happen. And I'm still not convinced that he's going to kill the man here. Like, the way it's setting up, they really are trying to... Why is Curry still on the desk here? Chie! I touched the dial with my fingers and then thought for a moment about what to say exactly when he picked up. Despite how many times I'd gone over it in my head last night. Now I had my finger on the dial like this. It started to seep out of my mind like a cracked bucket leaking water. Simple would be best. More importantly, to say it straight and not sound suspicious. I counted off 3 heartbeats and then spun the dial. The call sound. Would Satoko's uncle pick up? Now of all times, that hope he wouldn't pick up, and the feeling of doom in the knowledge that I couldn't save Satoko if he didn't, whirled around in a vortex. It was the voice of a grumpy man, like he had just woken up. He picked up. Okay. Keiichi? Don't mess it up. I wonder... Okay, let's think. Keiichi, he has to. If there's ever a time in your life, Keiichi, you needed to act, now is the time. Like, to act well. To tell a good lie. And not say, Trying to think. I'm just worried that... I feel like there's so much that could go wrong here. Like, even if he calls him and baits him out, like, what if he takes his gang with him, you know? Like, what if he sees Keiichi? Because it doesn't look like it's that dark outside. I don't know. Say your name so I know you're Hojo, you asshole. It would be terrible if I got it wrong. Made up my mind. I had all the initiative on my side. Here we go. I was changing my voice, but did he really think I sounded like an adult? Would he believe I was the police? Hi.
北条ですけど今お宅のお嬢さんの北条聡子さんをこちらで保護しています。え、聡子があいつ何かやらかしおりましたか？
He fell for it. I could tell by now how tense that he didn't doubt my words.
詳しい事情はこちらにいらしてからご説明します。すぐにこちらへ来ていただくことはできますか？
今ですか？風呂に入っちゃったからあんまし表に出たかないんですがね。
What? You don't want to come because you already took a bath?
はい、今すぐです。
すぐかく貞子のやつ何をしちゃったんですか？
詳しい話はこちらでいたします。ではお待ちしていますのでよろしくお願いします。
ちょっと俺警察署がどこかわかんないんだけどどこよ場所？
You moron! What the hell? The Okinomiya police station? I don't know where it is either. Aren't you from around here? Why don't you know that? A greasy sweat came over my body. Eventually, just as I was about to choke, he spoke.
消防署の隣でしたっけ？遠いな。
Thank goodness he remembered on his own for me. I didn't care where the police station was, so as long as he left the house to get
で
there.
はお待ちしていますので。
Dude, there's another wait.
俺警察行ったら誰んとこ訪ねればいいんよ。あんた名前は？
Top of that, he wanted to know my name. Just leave your goddamn house already.
前橋と申します。 では、
Dude,
失礼します。
I'm gonna this guy. Oh my gosh, Keiichi. Holy. Yeah, great perfect crime guy. Like, I feel like, at least for me, before I make a phone call, I literally spend like 15 minutes planning out how the conversation's going to crime, the perfect crime. Yeah. Great. No, the perfect crime. And then I'm saying like guy as in like, you know, like dude. Like great perfect crime, dude. Basically. Like, at least for me, before I make a phone call, I can't just pick up the phone and call. I have to plan out how the conversation goes. Yeah, does that... Whatever, I'm not bothered to go into this. I feel like this is something you have to plan out beforehand. You think, okay, what if he says this? Then you say this. What if he says this? Then says this. What if he says this? Then says, like, this out of everything, Keiichi. Come on. Not gonna lie, no, I'm not saying that everyone has to do that. I'm saying that it's something that I do personally. Because, like, I don't want to be stuck in this situation. Like, I wouldn't call it anxiety, because, you know, I've never been diagnosed with anything like that, so I wouldn't say anxiety. But, like, I just have to know every, like, possible scenario that's gonna pan out. And it's, like, before I make the call. And I will sometimes stall for, like, a day or something. Like, not to like plan out the entire time, but be like, okay, I've thought of it, let me sit on it to think of, see if I think of anything else. And then I'll make the call the next day or something like that. If they shit mid-call, dude, account for that. Then you say, don't worry about it. You know, I'll stay on the line, you can clean up, and then I'll be here. For work, I mean, it's best that I come prepared, but sometimes I just don't. I hate making phone calls. I agree. That was close. I almost thoughtlessly told him my real name. I managed to change the last symbol of it, but I put the receiver down like I was running away. My fingers were trembling, and I was soaked with a tepid sweat. I wasn't just nervous about the police call. With that call, everything had finally been put into motion. I left the school. It was locked before, but it was easy enough to open from the inside. Even emails, I find really, like... I would definitely prefer to, like, message over email, you know? Like, I mean, obviously, like, for jobs, there's, you know, you have to, you know, email or whatever, but, like, I do not check my emails often enough. But yeah, I also dislike making phone calls, and honestly receiving phone calls. In terms of being thorough, I wanted to lock it, but I couldn't waste time going back to the teacher's lounge and looking for the key. I needed to rush back as fast as I could and ambush him. I zoomed back to the scene on my bike. If Satoko's uncle got out of town before I got there, everything would be over. He learned there was no one at the station named Maebashi, and things would get pretty messed up. As I returned at full speed, I passed a family wearing yukatas. They must have been on their way to the festival. Many people in Hinamizawa knew my face, though I didn't know theirs. Even just passing by them like this made me uneasy. But I didn't generally come around here, so those living in the area might not have known much about me. That didn't matter right now. Why is this so peaceful, calming music for a scene like this? It sounds so majestic. For what reason? I need to get back as fast as possible to control my breathing and to ambush the man. I hid my bike in a thicket and picked up Satoshi's bat, which I'd left just hidden in the shade. And then I held my breath waiting to see someone. I wondered if he still hadn't gotten here. Or maybe he went right out after the phone call and passed by here already. I couldn't figure out which it was and was set upon by an indescribable impatience. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. Even if he came here already, he'd pass here on the way back, right? The end result would be the same. Wouldn't change the fact that he'd die. He'd probably be coming on his motorcycle. How'd I stop him then? I figured it'd be best not to think too hard and just hit him as he passed or beat him up out of his seat. The path was made of pebbles. If I hit him as hard as I could and made him lose his balance, he wouldn't be able to help falling. And then, the chorus of the Higurashi stopped. The sound of a bike approached from far away. I couldn't tell what sort of motorcycle it was from its sound, but I'd seen it parked before, so I'd know. It was getting rapidly closer. It was almost here. If he just went a little farther, he'd cross into that thicket and appear in front of me. I'd take a moment to make sure it was him. And then when I had, I'd put my plan into action. Motorcycle appeared. A few easily identifiable characteristics told me it was Satoko's uncle's bike. Without a doubt. Was it really him? Was it really Satoko's uncle? I wasn't making a mistake, was I? I looked at its characteristics again. Its color, shape, and most of all the man's clothes. And face! Those last feelings of hesitation. I did away with them. Satoko! Now, your Nini will end it, okay? Closer. Closer. The bike came closer. Let's go. Satoshi! Whoosh. Here we go, guys. I jumped out of the thicket. I used my shoulder to basically tackle the uncle on the bike with all my might. He gave a dumb shout as his bike completely lost its balance. Finally it fell, the bike scattering clouds of sand, and after spinning it stopped. Her uncle, tossed to the ground, didn't understand what had just happened, and groaned for a few moments, crouched to the ground. My breathing started becoming ragged. No, I couldn't have this emotion. I'll do the music at a different point, Z. Some weird secretion crossed through my brain and nearly made me hallucinate. Her uncle was groaning. Now was the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. What was I doing? All the sounds in the world cut off. My mental chaos from moments ago withdrew like a lie, and I could feel the temperature in my head rapidly cooling down. The tension in my muscles all went away like the strings they'd been attached to had been cut, and I let my hands dangle at my sides. It wasn't quite like exhaustion. Have you calmed down now, Keiichi Maibara? Do you need to remember again why things got to this point today? Scrape, scrape. I stepped over the pebbled path, taking one step, another step, then another towards Satoko's uncle. The more I walked, the more my breathing calmed. The more I walked, the more I felt my body cooling, calming, chilling with the frost. Yes, at this moment, this guy had lost permission to live. I just rescinded it, so he mustn't stay in this world any longer. If he lived any longer, Satoko's misfortune continued. It would be my responsibility for having allowed him to live. I could feel the cooling substance going through my body, even down to my capillaries. Her uncle was at my feet now, still on the ground like an idiot. I smiled coldly at how ridiculous he looked. That's all it took for it to hurt. Satoko's heart hurt much more, and now you're going to feel that. And with your life, I'll make up for her pain. I erased all unnecessary information from my mind. I prioritized the murder of this man. Execute, execute, execute! Wham! Utterly calmly, I delivered my first strike to the back of his head. Basically, Z, he explained it. The bat was longer reach. Knives, you're only allowed to carry up to, like, 10 centimeters. Otherwise, it's illegal. So he didn't want to be caught with something like that. I wanted to get the most effective spot, at least during the first moment of having to attack him while he was at his most defenseless. It's also symbolic because it's the bat that her brother used before he disappeared. And if he was hit in the head, he'd cover his head. It was a defensive reaction all humans made, like machines. He used both hands to cover his head so he couldn't pick himself off the heap he was in on the ground. Like pounding a caterpillar into the dirt, I hit him over and over again. If he covered his head, I'd hit him in the side. If he covered his body, I'd go for his head. Holy shit, Keiichi. If he rolled over, I'd strike his feet, his knees, his elbows. I didn't care where anymore. Just by delivering one blow after another, I induced panic in him. I retained my overwhelming advantage, but I hadn't done nearly enough to deliver a fatal wound. Her uncle skillfully pulled himself off the ground and started to run like a fleeing rabbit. But it wasn't a judgment he'd make after seeing my face and deciding whether to fight me. Right now, he's fleeing by instinct, just trying to escape from the threat that had presented itself. A counterattack from the more physically capable uncle was what I was most concerned about. He may have run, but it wasn't all that unlucky. All the odds were in my favor. The uncle didn't run away towards people, but off the path and into the woods. How pleasant that he would run in a direction where nobody else was. He was fleeing into strange geography, like a rat that instinctively runs into tight spots over and over again. And yes, he was no longer human. He was a rat. The blood vessels in my leg expanded. My total oxygen supply increased. I lowered myself to gain the most explosive velocity I could. Without breathing, I became wind like shadow and dashed. I crossed the thickets, crushed dead tree branches underfoot, and dove through the woods like a bullet. He ran so cowardly, arms flailing as he went. After catching up to him, I didn't need so much as a blink of an eye to strike him again. My senses, mind, and body were all sharpened to purely kill this man. This was the first time I'd felt like this. Well, this was the first experience I'd ever have killing someone. It felt natural continuing to do this for the first time. And that meant I had this much talent for killing. Or perhaps the act of killing was so simple that anyone could do it. I didn't struggle or grow tired at all chasing the clumsily fleeing uncle. No matter how much he ran, it was like trying to get away from his own shadow. He couldn't get away from me. I could easily aim at his back, his shoulder, his head, and even from this unnatural stance. Each time I struck him, he wailed in pain and begged pitifully for forgiveness, but it didn't disturb my mind. I was neither excited nor plagued by hesitation like before. I felt sharp like a carnivore. Of course, so did the uncle who was trying to run away because he didn't want to die. He didn't want to be eaten like a herbivore, running with all its might, trying to get away. Despite all the attacks, despite all the hits, he kept fleeing on without even staggering. And despite the bad footing in the forest, he impressively never tripped over anything. But there is no need to admire that fact. It was simply proof that he was no more than an animal. If he was chased, he would run. If he was going to be killed, he would run. He bared his fangs at the weak, but couldn't oppose the strong whatsoever. He was lowly, vulgar, a diminutive animal. Such a puny little creature had harmed Satoko. Scar after scar to her body and mind, deep wounds that might not ever go away as long as she lived. My cold and calm emotions suddenly turned into bestial ones. My personality changed into something specialized for murder, purely to devour the diminutive animal before me. The wolf gets unleashed, as we predicted. The uncle gave a puny little shriek, covered his head, and ran, and ran, and ran. I'm impressed by how much you can run. Fine, run as much as you like. I will be your death. I will choose the moments at my leisure. Your legs will hurt, your lungs will feel about to burst, your head will hurt from the lack of oxygen. If you feel the pain has become worse than death, then by all means, stop anytime. Without turning back, suffocating on his terror of approaching death, he just ran shamefully onward. He ran, but was chased, his head bashed with the metal bat, sweat and drool flying everywhere, blood clinging to him. From his mouth came the sounds of coarse, irregular breathing and high-pitched screaming that verged on crying. I have to drink some water, give me a second. And please for forgiveness to someone I didn't know who. Each and every second was a second of atonement that I granted him. Now run, 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 run! And fall and moan and die. Where did you even crawl out of, anyway? You were never here before. If you were never here, you should have showed up. our lives would still be fun and enjoyable. We would have gone to today's festival, waited for each other, and gone to the shrine, laughing. We would have been playing amongst the stalls right about now. We'd be browsing the strange food stalls you only saw at festivals, trying to get prizes from goldfish scooping, ring throwing, or target practice. Myung would surely make it into a competition, and we, as a club, would have a grand time. And everyone would have been cheering for Rika-chan's dedication dance, and everyone would say how fun it was and would give us energy for days to come. Fun, enjoyable, and funny, warm time spent with friends. And that would have happened. But it didn't. And now it was all smashed to pieces. Well, I think the main thing, Z, is that the uncle is much bigger and, like, stronger than him, you know? Like, if he gets too close, he overpowers him. He had to catch him off guard and just, like, keep... Like, now he couldn't stab him because stab doesn't deliver as much, like... But you have a bat? I mean, fair. I mean, but he did. Like, he said he swung at his, like, midsection, you know? Like, his head, his midsection, like, everything. So he probably did break some of his ribs, I would think. There's no doubt that what the world was like if you never showed up. You were the obstacle, the mistake, the heresy in that world. But I would correct that mistake now. I would erase you and make it so this last week never happened. Tonight was the Watanagashi Festival. The holy night, where taking just one life was permitted in the name of Oyashiro-sama's curse. Ah, it looked like the Higurashi stopped crying at some point. Didn't you say it stopped at the beginning? When the Higurashi cried, everything would end. And the Higurashi silenced. The Holy One. The hour of atonement is at an end. The Higurashi have stopped their crying, thus, it is the end. The end! The end! The end! You don't have to run away anymore. Die with those dirty brains of yours smashed everywhere. Ah! Lightning and thunder struck like an explosion. It was so loud it shook the ground and I smelled gunpowder. The response I got this time was clearly different from the one before. The metal bats crunched into the crown of his head. It was like the top of his head had caved in, and the bat felt like it was biting him. I mean, I feel like the head is a pretty good way to attack, though. In the final killing attack. Well, he did. He did crush his head. He crunched into the crown of his head. When I didn't overlook the opening he left as his knees gave out under him. I remained alert for a few moments. Then thud. Thud. He planted both knees into the ground and then fell forward, burying his head in the ground. Well, he did. The very first attack was at his head as well. And so the entire thing was he hit into the head, initially. And then the uncle shielded his head, and then he hit the midsection. And then, like he said, he kept hitting him everywhere that the uncle tried to, like, block. I've been holding my ragged breath. Back my ragged breathing. But now it came of me like a dam bursting. My head was dizzy and light, and unable to maintain my balance, I leaned against a nearby tree. The uncle didn't try to guard his head any longer. After a disgusting sort of spasm, he stopped moving. Did I get him? Did I get him? For sure. I fought back my... Well, that was the entire point. Keiichi is a scrawny kid. I fought back my exhausted urge to fall over where I stood. And I mean, he even said he's shorter than most others, so... And the bat's still at the ready. It was possible he was faking it and trying to wait it out. Should I check for a pulse? I realized right away, though, how unnecessary that would be. If I thought he might be faking it, then I would just have to keep pummeling him until I was satisfied. I fought back my ragged breathing again, and then I swung my bat far above and brought it down. His body leaped like a bow, but he didn't try and cover his head. And once again, I aimed for his head and swung. His reaction was the same this time. after spending a few moments making his head into mochi. The hits gradually starting to feel different. It started to spray a filthy, dark red liquid everywhere. That was enough. It was definite now. I had absolutely killed him. There was no sense of accomplishment, nor one of regret. I didn't feel anger towards Satoko's uncle, nor pity towards Satoko herself. Instead, right now, I was feeling like my heart had been stolen by the downpour. It had begun to rain at some point, and how comfortable it was. The rainwater drenched my body and dripped down to the ground. The excitement within me faded as the rain washed away the grime. Nick's chains my shoes were so wet they had made a splashing sound. Honestly, perfect time to have, like, that is perfect timing. The fact that, like, all the blood and DNA and everything gets washed away is so good. Like, that is, like, honestly, if that, body doesn't get found, it could genuinely be the perfect crime, but I don't know if, like, it might get found. And despite abusing Satoshi's bat like that, it wasn't bent very much. There were a few dents in it, probably from hitting the man, but nothing that would make it seem different from before. Instead, it had been stained with black, with red, with mud and blood. But that itself would be evidence. The one piece of evidence needed to prove that my delusions hadn't been daydreams, that had ended Satoko's uncle for all eternity. Alright, Keiichi. Calm your mind. The time for passion is over. Now's the time to be cold as ice. I needed to bury the body. But where was I? I simply followed the man as far as he ran into the darkness. I couldn't take a guess at how far we'd run. It was already pitch black around us, and the only light I had to go on was the very faint lights on the road a little further down. It was so dark out. I hadn't noticed the darkness until just now. My vision was so good I could see the man's ugly hairline. I could have counted the pores in his head. It was only now that I realized how much crazy strength I'd mustered at that moment. I went over to the streetlight, looked up and down the road, desperately trying to figure out where I was. Oh no. This was the one road connecting Hinamizawa to the town. We were unbelievably far away. Wait, how far did the man run? I didn't think they run that far. Had the two of us really run so far a distance? My surprise at that was accompanied by the knowledge of the miraculous fact that despite running so far and making so much noise, we hadn't come across anybody at all. There was a long way between here and the ambush location, where I dug the hole. There was no way I could carry the body that far. Wait, aside from that, the bike the man took was still here, lying in the middle of the path. That would be an issue. The police could tell whose motorcycle it was by just looking at its license plate, and they wouldn't just leave it at that. Thankfully, the corpse was in a dark forest. In terms of urgency, dealing with the bike would come first, and I wanted to get the shovel back from where I left it next to the hole. I shouldn't drag the body there. I would have to deal with it right here. Fortunately, the ground was like mud from the downpour, and was more sludgy here than it was before. I might be able to dig a grave here quickly. Of course, my bicycle was still over where I left it too. It still wasn't over. Homicide had only been half my goal. The other half would be just as important as the first. I would completely hide the body, not allowing a beginning to happen. I'd erase the man like he'd never existed, and regain the peaceful times we had before. I bent my head backwards, and calmed my mind even further. The big water droplets struck my brow mercilessly. They were actually quite comfortable, and for a while, I let my desire have its way. After confirming I was sharp again, I started running through the rain. The motorcycle was in the grass at the roadside. Considering how it looked pelted with rain and covered in mud, it actually seemed like it had been lying there for a very long time. The plan was to drop the motorcycle into the swamp. The swamp was a bit of a walk from here. I lifted the bike up. Didn't think it would be so heavy. I was a little surprised, but once I had it upright, it was fairly easy to roll it along. Still, pushing this thing all the way to the swamp was really not something I wanted to do. I could no longer ignore my exhaustion, and it warned me numerous times of how far away the swamp was. This motorcycle, don't try to ride it, Keiichi. You have no clue how to do that. Once I got it going, it's basically the same as a bicycle. No, it's not. Wouldn't you get me to the swamp quickly? A plan suggested by my exhaustion. The anxiety of getting on a motorcycle for the first time withdrew. turn the key, and you just kick this pedal, right? Yeah! Yeah! It's on. And then I grip the handlebars, first the right, and then the left. Maybe I twisted them too much. The bike lurched and did a wheelie like an angry horse. I lost it for a second, which is a problem with how much torque to apply. Let's try that again. This time, slowly. Gently. That time it went well. It was strange to be on a two-wheel vehicle that would go even if I didn't pedal. Very odd, but I got used to it quickly. Mion once told me you could get a scooter license within a day, and she was clearly right. This was pretty easy. I need to throw the metal bat in the swamp too, but I didn't know how to pack the bat onto the motorcycle. Without much other choice, I stuffed it into the back of my shirt, feeling like a ninja carrying a katana. Wouldn't it be better to dispose the body first? I feel like that's more important. If people saw the bike there, they wouldn't think of anything. Like, they wouldn't think anything of a bike being there. Like, it would be a bit weird, but the people would be like, oh, maybe someone's coming back for it. But if they saw a body there, they're immediately calling the police. Then put the tip down the seat of my pants and hunched over. It wouldn't fall out. I got back on the bike, and this time, got going without any difficulty. He had to go back for his shovel. Ah, I see. Okay. I carefully pressed the button labeled... But still, like, it's on the path. I feel like you should at least drag it into, like, the thicket or something, right? Like, the foliage. To hide it, because it's pitch black, theoretically. So, I feel like... At least if he did it, they didn't talk about it. I carefully pressed the button labeled light, and a rather strong light came on, illuminating the way forward. Bro should have watched Dexter first, if only. I probably really shouldn't have turned it on, but I didn't have a way of seeing at this point, and had zero confidence I could ride through this darkness. As the rain came down on me, I maintained a precarious balance and inched my way towards the swamp. Along the way, I ran across a few people who seemed to be returning from the festival, but none of them had any interest in me. They were all either soaked through the rain and hurrying on their ways home, or had their umbrellas low and their heads down. Yesterday I might have been wary of even these passerby, but right now it didn't seem like much cause for concern. In fact, it'd probably be less suspicious to be riding out in the open like this instead of sneaking around. Probably what's a murder mystery that came out before 1983? Or not murder mystery. I guess, yeah, murder mystery, because we're talking about this specific thing. More and more, though, I started to think of the idea that as naive brought on by my exhausted state. I climbed up a steep hill. On a bike, the hill would have put me out of breath, but I just had to accelerate a little bit to climb the entire thing. Motorcycles sure are convenient. For a moment, its lights illuminated a sign before I passed by it. But it literally makes more sense, though. Okay, let's assume that Keiichi wanted to go back to get the shovel first, right? He has to go, take the bike to the swamp, right? Throw the bike in the swamp, then walk all the way back and then dig it. Wouldn't it be better to just, like, you know, ride the bike to where he had the body, get his shovel, go get the bike, get the shovel, ride the bike to the body, dig the body, like, you know, while doing whatever with the motorcycle, and then drop the things off, and then he can walk home. Chiefs 1983. There we go. Well, there we have an answer. Never heard of that, but I trust. Onigafuchi Swamp. Good children do not play around here. Still, it wasn't like the way to the swamp was cordoned off by a metal fence or anything. Parents and teachers would get mad at you if they found out you were playing at the swamp, but some of the bad kids in my class apparently snuck out here sometimes to see the giant crayfish in the place. They talked before about how they go to the candy shop and buy some pickled squid and just tie them to a fishing line and throw it, and all the crayfish would come running. Once I got up to the bank, there was a tiny ritual shrine and traditional ropes on one of the trees. Oh, you're here! And as it swallowed the downpour whole, the blackened swamp had waited for me. If I slammed on the accelerator from the cliff-like stop I was on now, the thing would fly straight into the middle of the swamp. I had to be careful not to fall in with it. If I drowned or disappeared, man, what a stupid ghost story that would be. On the night of the Watanagashi, Satoko's uncle's corpse would be found. I think that body's gonna get found. Until that body is buried and Keiichi is home without anyone seeing him. And even then, I feel like it'll be a shallow grave. I have a hard time seeing how this body is not going to get found. People are going home now. Someone's going to pass by that thing, and they're going to pass by that body. And he didn't even bother to move it out. On the night of Watanagashi, Satoko's uncle's corpse was found in a thicket by the road leading to town. And Keiichi Maibara went missing. People would whisper that I'd been demoned away. The 5th year's curse would be a half-baked one. I got off the bike and twisted the accelerator as hard as I could. I let go just like it when it seemed it would drag me forward. The bike shot off the cliff and was swallowed down into the swamp, leaving a far fainter splash than I'd imagined. Wait. Is it a high up cliff? I thought it was like, you know, similar picture to in the thing where it's just a tiny bit. It sounds like it's a long cliff, like a big cliff it fell down. I couldn't even make out the motorbike I'd just thrown in there. It was pretty heavy after all. It would be quickly engulfed by the soft mud at the bottom of the swamp. It would be pulled deeper and deeper until it reached hell itself. I felt no reluctance whatsoever in throwing that man's motorbike down the line of the demons, but I did have a tinge of regret about Satoshi's bat. I washed the bat with the muddy water, and the gore sticking to it came off easy. Don't keep the bat, Keiichi! I had shared today's events with Satoshi, so I wanted to give it a quiet place to stay. That's how I felt. I started to feel more like returning to the locker from before, so it could continue to keep watch over Satoko. Well, he was saying that his mom read a lot of, like, crime novels, right? So what is a famous crime novel from that point? Started to feel more like returning to the locker from before, so it could continue to keep watch over Satoko.
Satoshi, 俺、多分、お前のこと、誤解してた。
Satoshi listened quietly without nodding. I'm absolutely convinced now. You were the one who beat your aunt to death last year and saved Satoko. I always scorned you and called you a coward who ran away, but I was wrong. To the rest of the world, some deviant was behind that incident. But I know. That was something you did for her. And then you disappeared. You finally got back that peace and lost it within days. So I swear to you that I will live life to the fullest from now on. Live it enough for the both of us. I will live on as though this week, this day, never happened. But I'll never forget this short time we shared together for as long as I live. The long goodbye. What's it about? I didn't know what expression Satoshi made as he listened, but as someone who had protected the same girl, I felt he had smiled and given me his blessing. Then, my hand moved of its own accord, and the bat I had hesitated to throw away left my hands and flew into the air. It traveled its parabolic path, spinning all the while, and the swamp absorbed it without a sound. There weren't even any ripples when it hit the surface. That surface was tempestuous because of the downpour, and the bat was long gone. For a moment I regretted having thrown it, but I realized that might have been what Satoshi had wanted.
そうだよな。俺は、まだ感傷に浸る余裕なんかないんだよな。
I returned for my shovel, get on my bike, dig a hole to hide the body, and bury it. It seemed like a simple sequence of events, but I felt extremely exhausted, and I had to do it all tonight. Satoshi left me with the only advice that I need to finish this up soon, and fell silent for eternity, and disappeared at the bottom of the demon's abyss. That sounds like a stream I could do. Just say goodbye the entire time and then leave. I turned to the path I'd ambushed your uncle on. My bike was hidden, sleeping in the brush. I stood it back up. My whole body felt heavy, but I needed to finish by the end of the day, even if I had to whip myself to do it. Oh, I forgot something. I didn't just come here for my bike. The shovel was here too. Oh, good. I was zoning out. Every once in a while, if I let my guard down, my vision would almost go black. But it's about a murder case. Well, that's all we need to know. Pull yourself together, Keiichi Maibara. It's still not over. I went into the grove of the trees and looked for the hole at which I'd hidden the shovel. Unfortunately, I'd hidden it deep in the forest, not wanting it to be seen. No, everything was black in the night. I couldn't see anything anymore. I reawakened my fading consciousness and realized just how big this annoyance really was.
おい、マジかよ。
The sweat the rain had washed before came back up to my skin. Deep, deep in the forest where the streetlights could never reach, the fact that it would be so pitch black had been completely uncalculated. This much darkness, even if I had been able to kill him right away like I'd planned, I don't know if I still could have buried him without a problem. What should I do? I simply couldn't find the shovel tonight. Also, the fact that it rained, the pile of dirt that he made, I don't even think if he's going to be able to cover it back easily if it's all like packed together. I simply couldn't find the shovel tonight. If I forced myself to go deep in the forest, I'd lose even my sense of direction. I might actually get lost in there. That might have been an exaggeration, but it was fully possible I'd trip over a tree root and sprain a muscle. Oh, right. My house storage room. There was another shovel there, the same fold-up kind. couldn't I go back to the house, get the shovel, and give up on finding the shovel tonight? It's not as though the name Maibara is written on the shovel, but it seemed like an unusual item for an important variety stone made in another country, so... Well, to be honest, the entire thing is that he can't see anything. It's just completely black. A mark would not help, because he still couldn't see anything. But in this darkness, I couldn't do anything. I should give up and go back to the storage room. And there was an electric lantern in there. If I use that for light, I could look for it. But it was so extremely dark. Could I light the way with just one lantern? The light of a lantern in this dark night? I couldn't discard the possibility of drawing ice, and I doubted if I could find the shovel with the lantern's feeble light. Besides, if I left the body there for a pretty long time already. My sense of fear, dulled through the excessive exhaustion, finally reared its ugly head. Anyway, for now, the most important thing was to hide the body. A shovel being found wouldn't be a big deal, but a corpse, if they found that, I'd share the same fate as Satoshi. First, I go back to the storage room at home. Then I get the lantern. Now that it's gotten this dark, I might still need to light to dig a hole for the body too. And I get the other shovel. Keiichi, please move the body away. Like you've already done the deed, just move the body away. And then I deal with the body first things. Once that was done, I'd come back here, find the shovel, and bring it back. I had to at least this much, but I was so tired. Complaining was getting me nowhere. If I started getting complacent now, everything would have been for naught. At some point, I had sat down. I gritted my teeth and endured, lifting my heavy hips. The night was young. Of all the nights I'd experienced, none had ever been this long. When would it end? The night was young. The lights at home were dazzlingly bright. Suddenly they reminded me of how hungry I was. Same! Keiichi, same right now. I need food badly. But I want to finish this. I checked the clock and saw it was almost 7. I thought for sure it was 2 or 3 in the morning already. I was surprised at how messed up my biological clock had gotten from just this one night. There's a warm light coming from the curtains in the living room window. The worlds between here and what was beyond those curtains were so different. If only that man hadn't shown up, I would have been in that light. I'd still be excited from the festival and talking to my parents about how much fun I had with all my friends. And then even though they made a hot meal for me, I would have eaten way too much at the stalls, barely eaten any of it, and gone back to my room. No doubt I crawled into my futon easily and let myself fall asleep. But right now, I was completely different. There wasn't a single ember of warmth from those weak streetlights. Right now, I was unconnected to any time spent with my family, and there was neither warm food nor the time to allow myself to sleep. My body exposed to the cold rain. I knew that I simply had to spur myself on to accomplish what I must. I realized how timidly, how cowardly I was becoming. For what purpose did I need to kill someone so badly that it was worth feeling this terrible? I lost sight of that purpose. I selected the fastest, most fundamental way to save Satoko, and executed it without hesitation. The man was dead. He was gone. He would never, ever hurt Satoko again. We all thought frantically for days on end about Satoko's problem, and finally with no options, we gave up. And I'd solved it in one night. By myself. Without anyone's help. Right about now, Satoko would be making dinner for her uncle, despite not knowing when he'd return, and she might be spending the night trembling in fear of whether he'd yell at her for how it tasted. But her uncle wouldn't come home. She wouldn't have to fear his wrath, nor let him make her feel sad. I see. I did it. I successfully saved Satoko. All I'd been thinking about for a long time was killing that man. I'd forgotten the feeling that it was all actually to save her.
そっか。
I did something good. That's right. I did something good. Didn't I? I felt hot tears coming from my eyes. And that's when I first realized that the exhaustion I'd been feeling was actually guilt. The blade of guilt for a while now had been scraping away with its tip hurting my heart. It hurt so bad I couldn't stand it. It was throbbing painfully. It hurt so much. It was so painful. I cried. I cried tears of joy at saving Satoko. I didn't know why really anymore. I just cried. Keiichi. Classic Keiichi moment. That's all I can say. I didn't know why really anymore. I just cried. My tears fell and fell. As I stood there for a while, coming to terms with those warm tears, my heart was comforted a little. All right, Keiichi Maibara. That's enough. There's nothing to regret or feel ashamed about. Both my body and mind were thoroughly exhausted, and that was a fact. It was only natural I couldn't feel anything. Even tomorrow and the day after, I might not be able to feel anything for a while. But there was one thing that was true. There was the indisputable fact that I had saved Satoko. One day would surely be rewarded. One day I would be proud of how distressing an enterprise I had undertaken to get Satoko's smile back, and so I could wait for that day. I had to put the finishing touches on this night. I left it undone. Everything I'd accomplished today would be for naught. I looked back up at the sky, which didn't look like it would stop raining anytime soon. I rubbed my eyes and summoned forth energy from my core again. How long did I plan on spacing out? This isn't a time for daydreaming. Someone could find that corpse this very moment. That pessimistic thought was proof the very natural emotion of fear had returned to me. As I allowed the fear to spur me onwards, I went to look for the other shovel and the lantern inside the storage room. I was fortunate. I remembered what it looked like around the street light. The body was near. With how dark it was quite possible I wouldn't have been able to look for it either. I didn't realize when I left the place, the idea of memorizing the spot hadn't crossed my mind, and that's why I had to call it fortunate that I managed to get back to the body like this. I think it definitely is Ruben. It makes a lot of sense to me. The corpse is now located in a big muddy puddle. Half the thing had already sunk into the swamp like a pool of water. I only realized afterwards that there's an unused irrigation channel right nearby, clogged with fallen leaves and dirt. There's rainwater flowing in from there. Wait, that's the exact way his lover died. That's where she was, in an irrigation channel. My shoes had been awash with water for a long time now, so without any hesitation I stepped into the puddle. Luckily the whole muddy stream washed it all away. Couldn't leave any slight traces like blood stains. The rain was like a blessing from heaven. I checked around me, paying very close attention, and turned off the lantern. It became pitch black when my eyes got used to the darkness in a few moments, and once I managed to reach the streetlight on the other side, I was able to make out even faint lights. I stuck the shovel into the puddle right next to the corpse. The ground was even looser here than I thought. The shovel's tip easily slid inside. I had to hurry and dig. If I took too much time, I might lose my energy and strength again. It felt almost like digging a hole in the sand at the beach. It was easy to dig, but no matter what, the muddy water kept flowing in, covering the hole. The digging wasn't going as well as I'd hoped. I dug, and water would go in, so I couldn't get a sense of how deep it was. The only way for me to measure it was to bury my own foot in the mud. I'm digging just fine. It's alright, don't be disheartened. Someone's gonna find him digging, aren't they? Because he's digging right in the path for what reason? Occasionally a car would come by on the road, and I'd hurry to hide myself in the trees. Everyone was only passing through. I mean, you could assume it would be a life-changing decision. I would imagine it's a life-changing decision. Everyone was only passing through. They'd only have their eyes peeled in this kind of darkness. I understood it logically, but I still couldn't help but hide. What I was really scared of wasn't quite that one of the cars would coincidentally happen to witness me here. It was that the distance I could spot cars from was getting gradually shorter. At first I noted the splashing sounds from really far away as cars drove them. Started noticing them less and less, and with the car that just passed by, I didn't notice it until its headlights were upon me. I felt my senses growing duller by the second. If someone were to take a peek in secret, as I was burying the body at the worst possible time, maybe I wouldn't even notice. The moment I thought that, I took a good look around me. I aroused all my half-asleep senses and searched for signs of presences nearby. What if I found someone spying on me from the trees? A carnivorous feeling snarled at me, glaring. there was, then I would dig another hole. I come this far already. In order to achieve perfection, I didn't care how much more I had to pay. I don't know what kind of face I was making at the time, but it was definitely a fervently glaring one. My 5 senses reached the conclusion that nobody was present. I didn't breathe a sigh of relief. How long I had been digging this mud out here. It was deep enough for me to go to my knees. Damn, Keiichi was digging! Maybe this was enough. Maybe I'd throw the corpse in as a test. I swallowed, getting my breathing under control. Despite how much I'd beaten him, I was afraid of touching the corpse. So instead I dragged it by its feet to the hole. It took more than a waggle and a tug to do it. But of course it did. Considering this man's weight, it was easily 80 kilograms. I rallied all my strength. Wait, that is not as heavy as I thought he was going to be. I guess it depends how tall he is, but I guess easily 80 kilograms. So maybe not. I rallied all my strength and dragged him. At this point, my groundling's fears that he might suddenly start moving again had vanished long ago. His body fit perfectly into the muddy hole. It was more than deep enough. Alright, let's bury him. Quickly. I did a perfect job of burying it here. Everything else would be over. I would hide it in the hole, and none of this would have ever happened. When I realized I only had a little farther to go to finish everything, I was racked with pointless anxiety. So, I think the main thing is the uncle the disappearance tonight on the, for Higurashi? Or is it the murder? Obviously, you would assume it to be the murder, but it seems like he's hiding it pretty well. I was in a race against time, but actually no, because he put it on the path, so no, never mind. It was like I was absorbed in a delusion, and if I didn't bury the body quickly, it might come back to life. In any case, a great rush. I poured mud and dirt into the hole. If I didn't work efficiently, someone might find me here. Until now, I figured if someone saw it, I'd just kill them, but... Damn, Keiichi, really? But not anymore. I was arrested with such absolute fear that if someone saw me here, it would all be over. As I finished the work off, it was a total mess. Splish, splash, squish, squash. I drew the surface of the shovel across the ground, trying to make it flat. I was completely covered in mud at this point. The rain washed the mud off my body, but not of my now blackened clothing. My body and mind were caked with panic, with fear and rain and sweat and mud. My shoulders heaving, I threw down the shovel and sat down in the mud. I was so exhausted that I wanted to lie down right here and sleep. Yeah, he really is. Like, that was wild to me. It was over. This time. For real. It was over! The man was down at the bottom of the wet dirt. Right at this moment, there were traces this place had been dug up, but the rain and flowing muddy water would completely cover it within moments. Yes! It was over. Then I fell over backwards, face up in the mud. Raindrops pelted my face without mercy, but I didn't care. After staying there for a while, resting my mind, I got up again. It was over. So let's go home. You already buried the whole thing, so now it's like it never happened. Never happened, so there's no reason for me to stay out here and get rained on. Someone's gonna find that shovel, aren't they? I wobbled to my feet. I wouldn't use the shovel anymore. I considered disassembling it, but I didn't have the strength in my absolute exhaustion. I didn't really need to take it apart anyway. Dragging the shovel behind me, I headed towards the light. I stood up my bike. It had been laying in the grass by the road. I didn't know how I was going to get this still assembled shovel into the front basket. I put the shovel down the back of my shirt like I'd done before with the baseball bat. Unlike the bat, the corner of my eye... Unlike the back, the corner of it was on my back, making it very painful. Plus, if I relaxed my posture even a little, it would fall out behind me. I ended up having to carry the shovel in my left hand and ride my bike using only my right. Okay, Keiichi! That's crazy if you're able to do that. Not only was I in a state of total exhaustion, this was a downpour. One hand on the handlebars. I was swaying to and fro like a drunk. I didn't care. Even swaying like this, I got a little closer to home every time I pedaled. I saw two lights swaying slowly in front of me. A car was approaching. Oh no, I need to get out of the way. From far away in the shadows of darkness, a car appeared. Its dazzling lights washed over me. The driver made a short honk of the horn to inform me that I was in the middle of the road. I have to get out of the way. I kept telling myself that, but not only was I riding one-handed, I was exhausted, so I couldn't do anything. Wobble, wobble, wobble. I metered about, not going to the right or to the left. The driver decided to swerve out of the way right in front of me, and without lowering its speed much, steadily came towards me. Its outline grew large in my vision, and telling myself again that I really needed to get out of the way, I jerked the handlebars in one direction, then lost my balance and fell over, bike and all. My whole body splayed out, and one foot got caught in the bike. This was seriously bad. My drowsiness quickly vanished, and then just as a cold sweat broke out on my skin, the driver recklessly spun the wheel to the left, made a counterclockwise U-turn, came right up to me and stopped. The driver's seat door opened, and the driver came out. What are you doing here? I was pretty sure someone would yell at me like that. It's Takano. She's alive! It was a woman's voice, and when I knew, I lifted my face off the ground and looked at her.
Takano-san.
こんばんは。
Okay.
月の綺麗な夜ね。
The moon is very pretty tonight. Have we heard that before?
前原くん。
It was raining far too hard to see the moon. Akano-san unfolded an umbrella and smiled as she spoke. That smile for some reason uncanny, like she'd seen right through me. Out of all the people I could have met, I got the sudden feeling that this was the one I wanted to see the least.
こんな時間にどうしたのかしら？傘もささずに全身ずぶ濡れの泥まみれで。それは何？シャベル？
She 100% knows. Yikes. She'd come here via car. She wouldn't have known what I was just doing, and yet she smiled as if she knew everything. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. She always makes that mysterious-looking smile, remember? Don't let her onto anything, lest you dig your own grave.
噂じゃあなた、ゴルフクラブで野球に参加したそうだけど。
Okay.
そのシャベルも、つまりはそういうこと？傘の代わりってわけかしら。
It feels like she knows. I should tell... Oh, no. Oh, no. That is not gonna happen, is it? I was walking my dog? Oh, wait, how long did it take you to walk your dog? I should tell a good lie here. If I could do that, things would just work out.
レナと宝探しにダム現場に行った時に
Okay.
これを忘れてき
That's
ちゃったんです
honestly,
よ。
I think that's pretty decent. Honestly, round of applause for you, Keiichi, for getting that one.
ふーん。それをこの土砂降りの中、取りに行ったわけ？
家を出た時は降るとは思いませんでしたので。
Okay.
あら、降り出したのは結構前よ。
First good lie.
あなた
It
ず
just
いぶ
seems
ん
like
前から表にいるのね。
she 100% knows. There's no way she doesn't.
まあそのお月へ歩いてましたから。
それにしたって。
How was walking your dog, Diana? Was there rain like this?
あなた、
向こうからこっちに向かってきたんでしょ。
Oh, the dam is in the opposite direction? Yeah, Keiichi, good try.
ダムとは場所も方向も正反対よ。
Takano-san was clearly aware that something exceedingly abnormal was happening with me. As she played her little word game, she was enjoying driving me into a corner. Maybe she had a vague guess from the situation of what I've been doing. My timing really sucked to run into her. Of all people, of all times! At the very end, I could only be frustrated by my terrible luck. I've done so much, and the end was literally right around the corner. So why? Why at the very end did I run into her, of all people? What did you do? What do you do, Keiichi Maibara? You're still holding something that could be a dangerous weapon. Dude, don't try to kill Takano. Will you silence Takano-san? And if it would be simple to kill Takano-san, dealing with the car she'd come afterwards would be an issue. Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it? I couldn't drive a car? It was completely different from a motorbike. Yeah, true. But even if the car was here, as long as there was no proof I killed her. Yes, in tonight's downpour without any prior planning, all by coincidence, a hit and run. As long as I didn't drop any handkerchiefs with my initials on them, they would never know I killed her. Black flame quickly smoldered and raged in the core of my body.
怖い顔。
Ooh.
いじめすぎちゃったかしら。
I wonder what's gonna happen. Takano-san started to laugh by herself and then thankfully stopped talking about it. But the dark clouds in my mind didn't go away. She's not scared. The dark clouds in my mind didn't go away.
それはそうと、いつまで自転車にまたがったまま地面に這いつくばってるつもり？そろそろどいてくれるかしら。
If I moved, she would leave. So I tried to get the bicycle up and out of the way, but then twisted my ankle in it and fell over. There's a sharp pain in the ankle I twisted. This is nonsense. A sprained ankle now?
あら、大丈夫？ひょっとしてひねっちゃった？
Takano-san squats down and takes a good look at the ankle I keep rubbing. She compares it to my facial expression, apparently trying to gauge how bad the wound was. Oh yeah, she's a nurse! I didn't expect to, but I couldn't even stand up. It was all I could do shamelessly. It was all I could do to shamelessly wriggle on the ground like a caterpillar. It's not in the anime at all? Yeah, I mean, it seems like it cut off a bunch of the, like, stuff from the anime. Why is she... Yes, it feels like she's sussing him out. That's what is, So, I don't know how much you were here for, but it seems like... But he committed the murder and everything, and he was just about to go home, and he fell on the road, and she's like... She is sussing him out. It does feel like it. It's like... Oh, like, Keiichi lied, and she's like, oh, the dam's in the opposite direction. Like... And then she gave me a shoulder to stand up. Why is she not scared of him? Because she's like, oh, the curse happened again tonight. And she's someone that's like, the curse will, happen, we'll see if the curse happens again. I think that it's, like, more entertaining to her, I guess, and she's, like, amused by it, is what I'm thinking. And then gave me her shoulder to stand up with.
なんだか私が跳ねたみたいで嫌な気持ちだけどね。
すみません。
見捨てるのも気の毒だし、私が優しい人でよかったわね。
Nobody good has ever called themselves a nice person. That wouldn't have been a terrible thing to say to someone holding me up like this. I took Takano's hands and sat down in the passenger seat. Takano-san went around the back and looked at my bike on the
自
ground.
転車は後日ってことにはならない？
I could clearly tell from her face that she thought it would be a pain since it would be heavy and would get her car dirtier. But my bike had the name Maibara written on it. I couldn't leave it out here like this.
なんとか車に詰めませんか？ないと困るんで。
トランクはもういっぱいなの。後部座席なんかに積んだらシートが泥で汚れちゃう。
The trunk is already full. That seems a bit sus to me, doesn't it?
まあ、あなたを乗せた時点でもう十分に汚れてるんだけれども。
I turn back to the back seat and see someone's folding bicycle there already. It still looked big enough to fit my bike in there as well. My expression reflected my thoughts, and the exact thoughts seemed to get through to her.
わかったわわかったわ。積んであげる。今夜だけはお姉さんも優しくしてあげるわ。
Takano-san continued with her mean jokes, but she hoisted my bike and loaded into her back seat for me. The mean jokes were one thing, but couldn't she do something about that eerie smile of hers? And even more importantly than the bike, I didn't want to leave the shovel here. The shovel could be directly connected to the buried body and me.
ついでで申し訳ないんですけど、シャベルもお願いしていいですか？
Takano-san gave me a clearly dubious
シャ
expression.
ベル？別にいいけど大事なもの？
The more I talk, the worse it gets for me. That's how I felt, so I didn't force myself to answer. Eventually, at last, by my silence, Takano-san gave a short shrug and sighed. Okay, she being a terrible liar once again.
はいはいわかったわ。僕はシャベルがないと困っちゃうんでしょ。
She 100%
そんな
knows.
怖い目しなくてもいいわよ。
Takano-san brought over the shovel that was lying in the middle of the road. I clutched it like I'd never let go of it again. Takano-san watched me with a puzzled look.
じゃ行くわよ。前原くんのお家ってあの前原屋敷でいいんでしょ？
なんでみんなうちのことを前原屋敷って呼ぶんですか？
だって現にお屋敷じゃない。お金持ちが羨ましいわ。
As she spoke, Takano pulled the handbrake and stepped on the gas. After making a skillful U-turn using the shoulder of the road, she steadily increased in speed. From the rear view mirror, that accursed place seemed to melt into the darkness. I wonder if she's actually taking him home.
慣れた？
え？すみません。よく聞こえませんでした。今なんて？
Takano-san suddenly tried to say something to me. Thoughtlessly, I didn't catch it. Looking ahead, Takano-san said the same thing one more time.
死体。上手に埋められた？
I thought my heart might beat out of my chest, but I didn't let it show. My lungs were squeezed tight and I couldn't breathe.
何を言ってるんですか？
こういう山奥に死体を埋めるときはね、結構深く掘らないと野犬とかが匂いを
Yeah, that's what I was
嗅ぎつけ
thinking,
て
that wild dogs
掘
would...
り返しちゃ
Yeah.
うことも多いのよ。野犬が加えてた人骨で事件が発覚。警察一帯を山狩りへなんて結構ないことじゃないのよ。
Pound, pound, clang, clang. Huge rusted bells start ringing in my head. Had I buried it so deep that I could say it absolutely wouldn't be found? The answer was no. I was in such a rush to bury him and get it over with that I couldn't deny having possibly buried it too close to the surface. No, wait. That's not... Wait, anyway! This woman, how does she know? She had just passed by here in her car by coincidence, and we ran into each other by coincidence. If she had been watching the entire thing from the trees, and once I left, she came back in the car. It didn't make logical sense. So then, why? Keiichi Maibara. That's it. You need to kill her. My entire body reawakened. I could feel my pupils dilate. I couldn't possibly beat her to death with a shovel in such a small car. I'm gonna use my hands and strangle her. She was driving now. What's happening? She asked us if the body was buried properly. That's what happened. She was driving right now. If I strangle her, we might get into an accident. Suddenly, Takano-san turned and looked at
ボ
me.
ケもツッコミもなし？
For a moment, I was surprised. What was she talking about?
私たちあんまり相性は良くないみたいね。
Takano-san said, disappointed, returning her gaze ahead. I repeated the words she said a few times in my head. I finally realized she'd meant it as an off-color joke. I didn't know whether it really was a joke, but I would be able to fool her no matter how many lies I told. Well, no, I think it's just because it's you, Keiichi. You don't know how to lie. Right now, with her driving the car like this, I couldn't kill her. I'd have an excuse. I would have an even harder time doing it when we got back to my house. The moment that we met had been my best chance, and to have missed it so easily hurt. After that, Takano-san didn't say a single word. The car was completely buried in an almost suffocating silence. What kind of woman had I run into? With everything that happened today, I managed to pull it off. At the very end of it all, I just had to go home and back to sleep. What bad luck. As my sleepiness gradually overtook me, the anxiety I felt steadily started to matter less and less. Is this alright, Keiichi Maibara? You probably should not leave this woman alive. Right now I'm tired. She stepped on the brakes and I jerked against my seatbelt. That woke me up. I thought that I might have fallen asleep by accident. I looked out the window and there was a big building with faint lights on. It was really dark out, but I knew immediately it was my house.
ご家族を呼んでくるわね。少しの間だけど、一人でお留守番できるかしら？
バカにしないでください。それに、ほら、もう大丈夫です。一人で歩けますから。
あらあら、さっきは痛そうな顔して、肩まで借りたのに？ひょっとして、お姉さんに甘えてみたかったから？
As Takano-san spoke, she left the car and opened up her umbrella. The sound of falling raindrops was fierce as always. I carefully reached down and rubbed the ankle I twisted. There was still some pain and a little weakness, but they weren't that bad anymore. Rather than being happy at how light the wound was, I first regretted this whole thing. If I hadn't twisted my ankle, I could have still taken the option of killing Takano-san right then and there. There probably wasn't much doubt that Takano-san was convinced I was involved in some sort of crime. If she knew about everything happening with Satoko, then she might have even guessed I'd kill somebody. Click. Takano-san opened the passenger side door for me.
本当に肩は必要ないかしら？もう一回だけ甘えてもいいのよ。
I ignored her and answered by getting out of the car myself. The rain was still pretty intense. I got my bicycle out of the back seat. I was a bit curious who the other bike belongs to. Wait. The other bike? Do we know there's a bike there? Is that just what Keiichi's assuming is in the trunk? I let Takano-san hold the umbrella over me, then pushed my bicycle up to the front door.
ありがとうございます。もうここまでで大丈夫です。
You said there was a folded bike. Oh, okay, okay. My ankle hurt so much earlier, and it still did, but it aggravated me that it hadn't even been that bad. It was really, seriously terrible luck.
じゃあ、私はこれで失礼するわね。前原くんと二人きりで夜のドライブだったなんて。みんな特に二郎さんにはね。
She definitely knows. That wasn't a joke. She knows. Jiro-san? Oh, she meant Tomitake-san. The boy's meant to be this enticing? I think there's definitely some element to that. I think that's kind of like how personality is, yes. His full name must be Jiro Tomitake then. Okay, sounds good, Z. Thanks for sticking by for this this long. We're almost done anyway. I hope you enjoy your Terraria. Even though, you know, you're not like fully caught up with the story and everything, you know, like you don't know, like, you know, don't have all the full context. So appreciate you sticking around. Enjoy your Terraria. Have a good night. First, the other bike full, or I guess a good afternoon for you. The other, or evening? I don't know. I didn't care about the first. Suddenly came to mind. I've been here since... I know you've been here since chapter 2, right? But I didn't know how much you were actually paying attention to the story. You know? Hey, excuse me, from Hinamizawa, right? On the day before yesterday, as I walked near the dam, half asleep, Tomitake-san had talked to me. And the bicycle he'd been riding, it was...
あの後ろに積んであった自転車。富
I
武
watched
さんの
Lily...
ですよ
Oh,
ね。
okay. Takano's eyes, I think they sharpened for a moment.
どうしてそう思うのかしら？
以前に会った時見てますから。フレームも特徴的でしたし。
ふーん。でも、おかしくないかしら。この自転車が二郎さんのものだなんてこと。
おかしいって。
Takano-san, her hair elegantly fluttering, peers into my eyes.
だって、ひなみ沢には民宿なんてないのよ。なら二郎さんは町に泊まっていることになるわよね。
そうなんですか？まあ、そうならそうなんじゃないですか？
町からひなみ沢までは、とても歩いてなんか行き来できないわよね。バスだって走ってないし。 せめて自転車くらいはなきゃね。
She didn't need to tell me that. That's why Jiro-san was riding a bike.
その二郎さんの自転車が私の車に積んであって、二郎さんは私の車に乗っていないなら、二郎さんはひなみ沢で自転車なしってことになっちゃうわよ。二郎さんを放っておいて、自転車だけが私の車に積んであるなんてね、ありえないでしょ。
As she spoke, Takano-san made eyes like a hawk. Unfortunately, I didn't really understand what was so... I mean, you're just so tired and like brain dead at this point, Keiichi. I'm pretty sure if he was normal, he would have noticed it. But at this point, I think he just wants to go home. He does not care.
それの何がおかしいんですか？高野さんは富武さんとは仲がいいんですよね。何かの用で自転車を積んであげたって、別におかしいことだとは思わないですけれど。
そうじゃないでしょ。つまりこのひなみ沢において二郎さんとその自転車がバラバラに存在することはありえないということなのよ。以上の理由からこの自転車が二郎さんのものであるわけがない。
It definitely is 100%.
理解できたかしら？
Takano-san's roundabout way of talking was hard to comprehend, but that eeriness I could feel, that vagueness dreadful. I didn't like it at all. But the most wild, instinctive part of me warned me not to pry.
あれは私の自転車なのよ。二郎さんに選んでもらったからセンスが似てるのは間違いないけれどね。
あ、そうだったんですか。道理で似てるとは。
私とあなたは今夜出会わなかった。
And now she was talking about something completely different.
何を言ってるんですか？
私とあなたは今夜出会わなかった。
I stayed there, not knowing what to say, and Takano-san repeated her eerie, succinct phrase to me again.
私とあなたは今夜出会わなかった。私とあなたは出会わなかった。
Something cold and unpleasant crawled up my spine. I knew because I'd killed a person with my own hands before. Before I came to the conclusion I had only one chance to beat this woman to death to keep her quiet. And I couldn't hesitate, so I could tell that she'd arrive at the very same conclusion. My instincts warned me again. Wish I'd never met this woman. The faint sense like a rotten smell drifting from this woman was no doubt the exact same sense I was giving off right now. The very peculiar aspiration, the lack of certainty of taking a human's life for a purpose. One that only those who have risen above everything else had. Actually, maybe I should have called it nausea. It meant, I didn't know how to explain this very well, but Takano-san was the same as me. In other words, someone who shouldn't have been here. Someone I couldn't have let anybody know was here. Somebody who nobody would have wanted to see. And now that we could calmly pretend as though we never met. Yeah. But just like I wanted to have nothing else to do with her, she didn't want anything else to do with me either. And she too wanted to make it so that we'd never met. Both of us wished for the same thing. Our desires were the same, which meant Takano-san's suggestion was extremely practical. That I couldn't outright refuse.
それでいいなら、そういうことでもいいです。俺と高野さんは今夜出会わなかった。
そうよね。あなたにとってもその方がいいでしょうから。
どうしてそう思うんですか？
いちいちうるさいわね。それくらい自分で考えられないの、坊や。
She cut me off with the condescending word boy, right in front of my house, in a place most unsuited to killing. And yet, there was a frozen thirst for blood coming from both of us. I would be killed right here, right now. Yeah, I should have definitely beaten her as we passed each other. A damp, greasy sweat broke out on my body. That's fine, if you want me, you can come anytime. When I made up my mind, she shook her hair elegantly and turned on her heel.
よかったわね。私が優しい人で。
Just wait, give me a second. Yo. Oh my god. That was good. Because she was a kind person? Well, is that it? And Takano-san got in her car. We didn't exchange any words of parting. Performed a massive feat, killing of Satogo's uncle, and yet I didn't feel any accomplishment. The holy night of Oyashiro-sama's curse, in which the taking of another life was allowed, and the terribly rainy night when demons wandered, as agents of Oyashiro-sama's will. The demons were never supposed to meet, but suddenly, it did. The demons parted ways, triumphantly. There was no reason for them to fight. Both their objectives had already been accomplished. With the rain hitting me like a waterfall, my eyes met with Takano-san through the car window. The female demon, her mouth twisted into a distorted, fearless smile. It was too late to kill her. Far too late. That first moment, the very first moment we saw each other, had my best chance. Now we had parted like this, I was acutely aware of it. Should not have let her live. She beeped around quickly. Her car drove away in the deluge. The one woman who knew that what really happened tonight disappeared into the dark. As long as she was alive, the night would never really end. Just get into an accident, I thought to myself. In this downpour, slip on some mud or something and fly face first into a tree and die. That wasn't a delusion. That was a wild flight of fantasy. It was an earnest wish. Yes, it was a command. Die. Die! And keep your mouth shut for eternity. Because I had no doubt you're wishing me to die, all the same. I cursed upon her faded emptily as Takano-san's taillights disappeared into darkness. The car's lights were completely out of sight now. Even the sound of the engine faded to the sound of the heavy rain and was inaudible now. I too turned on my heel. Draw the curtains on this insane night. To open my front door and end it all, I began walking towards the front door. I was covered in mud and made a squishing sound with every step I took. Squish, squish. Don't worry, Keiichi, my love. Squish, squish. She'll die. Squish, squish. Friend will be as miserable as she is. I'll throw her into some flames a lot. And let her dance until she's burned to a crisp. Like how she died in chapter 2? I'll burn her to ashes in the fires of hell until she's roasted as much as she deserves. Squish. Huh? Just now. I hadn't taken a step. And yet... What step? Without emotion, I turned around. There was a footprint that wasn't my own, then it was obvious someone else was behind me. Somebody else there? I was sick of this. Whoever it was, I was sick of everything tonight. This time I'd kill them. I'd kill them without a second thought. I wouldn't hesitate to turn around and dig another hole. Fortunately, there's nobody there. Wasn't going to have to kill any more people tonight. This night I couldn't handle any more of it. Even if I heard an extra footstep each time I stopped, I put it down to just me being tired. Whew. Is that the end? That has to be the end, right? Surely there's not a scene of him going inside his house. How do you, like, continue from this? That's the end. Victim of the fifth year. Any tips? If Z's still there, I don't know, but I'm going to play his song now, because I think now doing the tips is the best time. That he put a while ago. That was very long. We're doing the slushy all... Okay. That was very long. I had a feeling it would happen, though. But, because it's the Watanagashi, and he was going to commit a murder, so can I probably expect that. Phone ringing. That's the sound you guys can't hear. You know what I should do, actually? Music. There, now you can get this. The fire department? I think it's a fire?
こちらは中部高速の下級地サービスエリアなんですけどね。あんなところ誰も立ち入らないから、なんで火がついてるのかよくわかんないですけど、とにかく山火事にならないとも限らないし。
わかりました。すぐに現場を確認しますので、そちら様のお名前と、すぐに連絡のつく電話番号、それから火災現場の詳細な場所をお願いします。
This is really loud. I need to lower this a bit. Even in conversation, yeah, I know, right?
消防司令部より通達。G ブロック西側山斜面にて不審火の通報あり。街道から離れていることから、カップルの焚き火か不法投棄のゴミに放火したかの可能性があります。現場は深い森林地帯。周辺に民家はないが延焼の可能性あり。直ちに現場を確認されたし。
Something's on fire. So is that something to do with
消
Takano
防
or
署
what?
ですか。こちらは G ブロック第3消防分隊です。通報の現場にさっき到着。ドラム缶が一つ山中に
A
放火され
burning oil
炎上
drum.
しているのを確認しました。火は鎮火しつつあり、延焼の可能性はなし。で、その、ドラム缶の中に多分人じゃないかと思うんです。人らしきものが灯油か何かで焼かれたという感じで、その警察の人にも連絡した方がいいんじゃないかと思いました。間違いねえよ。これ人だよ。
Victim of the fifth year.
今年のたたりってことっすかね。
そういうことになるんですかね。毎年いろんな殺し方を見せてくれますが、
He kills them
特に
differently.
際立っていますね。
自分で自分の喉をかき破るなんて普通
Wait,
じゃ
so
ない
the
っす。
same two ended up dying?
あとは鑑識のじい様に任せましょう。きっと何かの怪しげな薬物を検出し。
お疲れ様です。
ああ、おいさん、小宮山さんたちが到着しました。
大石さん、お疲れ様です。今年は一等来てるのが出たらしいじゃないですか。
裏を書かれました。私はてっきり今夜死ぬのは北条哲平だとばかり思ってたんですがね。
I was absolutely that Teppei Hojo would get killed tonight. Little do you know, Oishi. Little do you know.
仏は何者です？
富武二郎。年に何回かひなみ沢に来てる趣味の写真家さんです。ノーマークだったな。
どうなんでしょうね。北条宅にずっと張り付いてたのがバレて、ターゲットを変更したとか。
They were watching the Hojo residence the whole time? Wait. How bad are they at their jobs then? They would have seen him leave and they didn't catch Keiichi that entire time killing him?
かなぁ。恨めったな。
で、北条哲平の方は何も問題なし。
ねえ、夕方頃に娘が祭りに出かけて、その少し後にバイクで出かけまして、先に娘が帰ってきて、あれまだ帰ってないかな。どっかで飲んだくれてるのかな。
大石さんいらっしゃいますか。高杉課長からです。1号車の無線にお願いします。
He's been found. He's been found! He's been found. Okay. Remind me? I don't know how to... Okay, yeah, I don't know how to do this right. Can I open settings now? No. Remind me next time to turn on music again, because I don't know how to access settings right now. I guess, wait, I could just... I saved here, right? Can I go to the main menu? I don't know how to go to the main menu. Okay, what do we have here, Ruben? And we'll do this before going to bed. Or sorry, before, so not going to bed, before getting food, because I need some food right now in my system. I literally, by the way, during that part where Keiichi was killing, I was just, that took so much out of me. Like, I'm so ridiculously hungry right now. Is this game finished already? We finished that chapter. Or that segment. We didn't finish the full chapter yet. You know what? I'm surprised the guy was even wearing a helmet. Maybe it's just because it's legal or something. Or like for legality reasons. They didn't show him like he got a lot of hits in before the guy like started running, but in this one he only got one. Oh, there we go. I think it's definitely explained better in the like we get to see the actual festival here, whereas before we like didn't get any view into it. I did it. Damn, dude. He is angry. He is. Rightfully so. I'm surprised Surplus didn't come in today. The fact that the guy was gonna die. Because, like, I feel like that's what he was waiting for. Almost done with questions, yeah. Well, we still have to finish chapter 3. The killing isn't even 20 minutes. Yeah, kinda, yeah. It's kinda. Not really, but yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go eat food now. I hope you guys enjoyed. Tomorrow and for the next few days will not be Higurashi, and I think honestly this is a good place to leave off for now. It's like after the murder, so there probably won't be Higurashi, so it'll be Dredge for the next few days. Next time we'll be playing Higurashi might be on Thursday, but we'll see. It might not even be. No, it'll be then. Yeah. Okay. Thank you everyone for stopping by. Dredge, yes, you are, and I will be back with Dredge tomorrow. Goodbye, everyone. Have a good